Hi, I'm Carlin Borisenko. In early 2020, I was the knitting Democrat who accidentally went viral on the internet for going to a Trump rally and then left the party. I became the conservative darling, was on all the shows, traveled around the country, and then realized that conservatives were no better than Democrats. If there's one thing that I've learned, it's that both political tribes are two sides of the same coin. But it wasn't all bad. On my journey, I became obsessed with understanding the woke ideology and the culture war. I broke the story of the city of Seattle doing segregated training with its employees.
How bad has this stuff become? The city of Seattle has now put out, I'm not kidding you, this is according to Dr. Carolyn Borisenko, who's an organizational psychologist. The city of Seattle asked its white employees to voluntarily spend a day off in a training about their internalized racial superiority.
I broke the story that led to the first ever federal lawsuit against critical race theory in the schools. I broke the Coke Be Less White story, one of the biggest anti-woke stories of all time. It got over 30 million views. Coca-Cola's corporate headquarters even had to change their outgoing voicemail.
Throughout the past few days, you may have seen inaccurate reporting on the content of our recently launched diversity, equity, and inclusion training program.
I exposed the schools in Burlington, Vermont for grooming middle school children live on the internet. They called me an unwoke cult leader for that. And the Vermont Human Rights Commission slandered me publicly as being a hate channel. I even got called a hero in Breitbart for exposing that the Washington Post was writing a hit piece on Christopher Rufo. I have broken story after story after story about what's going on in the public schools, from Cambridge, Massachusetts, to autistic sex education, to the Department of Education in Michigan, literally training teachers all over the state how to groom children. I wrote a book called Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against the woke insanity in your life. I host a podcast all about fighting back, and I'm downloading all of my knowledge to you on my Substack, carlin.substack.com. The world is a crazy place. We are literally surrounded by cults on all sides. On this show, we're going to do a deep dive into all aspects of the culture war, and I will show you the dark, dystopian underbellies on both sides. Here are the commitments I'll make to you. I will always tell you the truth. I will always bring you receipts. And if you stick with me, I promise you will see the world differently. Welcome to the cult. Please mount that like button for me and subscribe if you feel so inclined. Well, hey, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I hope you're all having a great day so far. If you would be so kind, please mount that like button for me, because for some reason, I don't know what's going on YouTube, but for some reason, my content is not actually being served to people over the last couple days. And I can see that very clearly because there was just a dramatic change in the statistics, which means YouTube is messing with my channel. They do this, all the time. And then I break their algorithm and I get it back working again. And then they mess with it again. And then I break the algorithm again and I get it working and they mess with it again. And one of the ways that you can help me break the YouTube algorithm is by always making sure that not only are you subscribed to the channel, because I stream Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. On Saturdays, we go at 6 p.m. I stream almost every single day of the week. Sometimes we even do late night streams. You want to make sure you're subscribed. So make sure you're subscribed, and then make sure you turn on notifications. And then please make sure you do mount that like button for me, because when you do all those things, especially the mounting of the like button, then YouTube knows to serve my content to more people. And then we break the YouTube algorithm again until they decide to screw with me again. And then it's all back to page one. All right, guys, welcome to the show. Today, we are going to be continuing watching Candace Owens' interview with Andrew Tate. I have heard through the grapevine that we're going to get to hear Candace Owens talk about how much she hates gay people today. So that's going to be fun. It is my sincere hope that we get through the interview today. However, and this was my fault, I take full responsibility for this. It is a 3-hour interview. And yesterday, because I had so much to say about it and had to yell at the audience a little bit in between, but I know some of you guys live for me yelling at people, we only got through like 45 minutes of the interview yesterday. I was hoping to at least get through an hour of it yesterday. No, we only got through 45 minutes of it yesterday. I'm sorry, but we're going to continue today. And if we need to do a part 3, then we'll do a part 3. And guess what? Apparently, Candace Owens also did another follow-up video, and I haven't watched it yet, because I'm not going to watch it until I'm done this. So let me know if you've seen it in the chat. Apparently, Candace Owens did a follow-up video explaining why she interviewed Andrew Tate. So I have a sneaking suspicion that perhaps Candace has gotten some backlash to this interview. We'll watch that after I finish watching the interview. And yes, Trendolin, we're going to do whatever podcast. I promise. It's either going to be a mainstream or it's going to be it's probably going to be a late night stream, Trendolin, if I'm honest about it. Because I don't even know what the whatever podcast is. You guys just keep telling me I need to watch it. And so it's probably going to be a late night nitwit stream. But Trendolin, I promise we're going to do whatever podcast. I promise. All right, guys. So that is what we have on the docket for today. I always get some of the most interesting comments on my Instagram page. Anyway, before we jump into that, just a couple quick things. Number 1, if you are not yet subscribed to my Substack, which is Carlin, KARLYN.substack.com, you can subscribe now you can always subscribe for free, of course. But if you want to support the work I'm doing and keep me in business and get access to exclusive supporter-only perks, then you can sign up for $8 a month or $80 a year. And then you can get access to the 2 weekly Zoom calls that I do with my supporter community. You can get access to my supporter Discord, where we will be having movie night. Hang on. I have very important things I need to share about the supporter Discord that I didn't have set up. So every Sunday night in my supporter Discord, we do movie night. And usually movie nights are at 8 p.m. in the supporter Discord. However, if I can get my thing to actually work in the way I intend it to work, there it is. However, this week, we have a very, very, very special movie that we are watching, mostly because Bot has not seen Titanic, and there are just way too many people in my community who have not seen Titanic. And so I made the executive decision that we are watching Titanic for a movie night in my supporter Discord. The problem is that Titanic is 18 hours long. Okay, it's only 3.5 hours long, but it's really effing long. So normally on Sundays, we do start movie night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. This coming week, this is a special this Sunday night only. We are starting at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So I don't want any excuses about how people didn't know and they showed up an hour late. 7 p.m. Bot. We're watching this movie for you, Bot. And that's the type of stuff that we do in my supporter Discord. We also have writers group on Thursday. And you get access to all that and more when you do support my work on my Substack, and you can sign up over there. Also, I do have a new article on my Substack in the Woke Mind series. The Woke Mind series is where I break down the psychology and the tactics of the woke left to help you anticipate what they're going to do. Last night, I wrote up an article about how they want your reaction. Your reaction is their goal. So definitely make sure to check that out. If you're at all involved in battles on school boards or around what's going on with kids or gender ideology or critical race theory, the Woke Mind series is going to be great for you, because I intimately understand these people at this point. They have a very specific way they go about things. They have a strategy. They are Alinsky's students, for better or worse. But the fact is that we do know their strategy. We know the tactics they're going to employ, and you're going to set yourself up a lot better to be able to actually win victories, because conservatives, it's not enough just to scream and cry. You do actually have to do things strategically if you want to beat back the cultural revolution that the woke left has engaged in this country. And so you need to make sure you're understanding who you're fighting. That's what I break down in the Woke Mind series. And that's just one of the things I do over on my Substack, which is, again, Carlin, KARLYN.substack.com. We need to have Communism Sunday. Don't I get a day off? I stream 6 days a week. Don't I deserve a day off? Okay. I used to stream 7 days a week. I used to do effed up news on Sunday, and it was just too much. I need a day off. All right. Maybe sometimes I'll do a voluntary stream on Sundays, but otherwise I need to maintain my sanity too, bro. It's just the way it goes. I also want to let you guys know, if you are not checked out the Unwoke art, I have a bunch of Substacks. Now, the only one that I ask for paying support on really is the only one I do premium content on, rather, is my Actively Unwoke Substack, which is carlin.substack.com. But I have other Substacks because I like to give people opportunities to sign up for things that are like, segmented. Like, I do different things on the different Substacks. One of the Substacks that I have is Unwoke Art. Unwoke Art is my merch store. You can find it at unwokeart.com. But if you want to get updates when I launch like new things in the merchandise store, then you want to go ahead and sign up for the Unwoke Art Substack, because you're going to get emails that look a little bit like this, that talk about new products I launched, that talk about the story behind the product, the intent behind the product. We talk about music and stuff like that too. And this is where I'm showing off my new Subversive series. The Subversive series is a series of designs in the Unwoke Art store where I am literally giving you guys the tools to become walking billboards for what these ideas mean. And the designs look really effing cool. This is not like, I'm sorry, conservatives, design is not your forte. I'm sorry. Like, these designs look cool. These are things that people want to wear. And not only do I want you to wear it because it looks cool, I also want you to wear it because you will be acting as a live billboard to teach people in the real world what these words that are showing up actually mean. So we've got whiteness is capitalism, we've got equity means an equal, we've got queer means Marxism, we've got anti-racism is racist, and then we've got a couple bonus designs, rebel against the simulation, and of course the socialists always lie design that was inspired this past week on Socialism Saturday. And you can see some of those products right here. We've got the whiteness means capitalism hat. We've got them on t-shirts, got them on really cool bags you can carry around. Just like, and I personally, like, can I just be honest? I love the socialists always lie t-shirt. Like, come on. Come on. I even ordered one for myself. It's getting produced right now. And so this is the type of stuff that you can find in my Unwoke Art store. And if you want to get a sneak preview and be notified when I do launch new things, you can head over to the Unwoke Art Substack, which is unwokeart.substack.com, and subscribe. And it's basically like a mailing list. And then if you want to support the work I'm doing, you can head over to the Unwoke Art store. And I got all sorts of awesome merch up there. I'm so proud of my merch collection. It's going really, really well. And I hope you guys enjoy it too. I'm trying to make things that are fun, that look really cool, and that also send a message that does commentary on what's going on in the world today. So win, win, win all around. All right, guys, one last thing before we do get started is, of course, this is Tuesday. And so this is not my last stream of the day. This is my first stream of the day. I will be live again tonight for Nothing Remotely Controversial with Joshua. Nothing Remotely Controversial is a fun and lighthearted look at the news. It is probably the most consistent thing that I've done on this channel since I really launched this channel. Joshua and I have been doing Nothing Remotely Controversial for like 3 years now, every single week. People are still surprised that I have a psychic on my channel on Tuesdays. I don't know why, but Joshua is a real life professional psychic. He has gotten very, very good at predicting. Joshua came into Nothing Remotely Controversial like doing mostly predictions around like love and relationships and like private stuff with like, his individual clients. He's gotten very, very good at predicting worldly events in the last 3 years. And so if you want to have some fun and blow off some steam and get a sneak preview of what's going on in the world, or like, is Trump going to actually go to jail? Is Hunter Biden going to experience any consequence? Will Joe Biden win the 2024 election? We will predict all these questions and more at 9:30 tonight. So come and join us for Nothing Remotely Controversial. And even if you don't believe in psychics, that's okay. You don't have to believe. We'll convince you at some point, but you don't have to believe. Just kick your feet up and enjoy, man. Not everything needs to be so serious. All right. So we hope to see you at 9:30 tonight on this channel, and we will have a great old time. All right, guys, let's dig into it because we do have a lot to continue with. Let me just get the sound set up. And guys, again, just as a reminder, please make sure to mount that like button for me. There is a shocking discrepancy between the number of people who are watching right now and the number of people who have mounted that like button. I'll just give you guys a moment to find the like button and to do whatever you like to it. And while you guys are finding that like button, while I'm waiting patiently for that number to go up, I do just want to say hello to everyone watching on Odyssey, Rockfin, and Rumble. Guys, please always make sure you are subscribed to me on some other alternative platform. I do stream on Odyssey, Rockfin, Rumble, Getter, Twitter, Facebook. So please make sure you are subscribed to me on something, because we never know exactly what YouTube is going to do. I'm pretty much like YouTube messes with the numbers on my channel, but like they haven't removed my content in a while, so that's good, I guess. So, thank heavens for small favors, but you never know. And so please just make sure subscribe to me on all the platforms, and that way, if anything ever happens, you will still be able to get in touch. All right. The like button is number, like, I would still like to see that like button number go up a little bit more. But guys, let's get started, and I can cajole you into mounting the like button more as we continue our way through the stream. We are continuing with Candace Owens interviewing Andrew Tate for some Narcissist on Narcissist action. All right, let's get this party started.
Oh, he's one punch. She's one punch. He's 3 or 4. That's the reality of the masculine world, because we've evolved. If you believe in evolution, but my views are mixed, but we've evolved to be in this position where we're constantly analyzing possible threats, and we're constantly analyzing people who perhaps are on our team or snakes, etc. And I think that not many people understand exactly how brutally competitive the masculine world is. And I think the worst thing you can do for a son is just to raise him in a bubble. My dad, I'll say it here, people lose their minds. My dad used to just randomly push me over. I'd be like 3. You just not hard, but just get up, boy. Okay. And mom would be like, why are you doing that, son? He's like, you get pushed over. That's life. My mom hated that she did that to me. But yeah, I can give him nothing but praise. I'm really so thankful I had the upbringing I have.
It is
think he's
so
proud of you?
weird that Andrew Tate is not looking at
I'm
Candace
certain he's
Owens.
proud of me. And it's amazing how much strength I can get from that.
I continue to just be really perturbed at Andrew Tate's lack of eye contact with Candace Owens. I mentioned this yesterday, but I'll say it again. He's not looking at Candace Owens right now. He's looking off into a corner or something. He is sitting at an angled position where, like, when he looks, hang on, well, I'll show you. There, he's looking at Candace Owens. That's him looking at Candace Owens. Here is him looking off into a corner somewhere while he's answering Candace Owens' question, but is not actually looking at Candace Owens. It's weird. Okay? It's weird. I don't know. I mean, Heidi suggested yesterday that it's because he doesn't respect women, and so he's not gonna, face you or look you in the eye. And I certainly think that could be something to it, but it's weird. We're gonna ask Joshua for insight on this. Yeah, I mean, it also could be that he's absolutely lying. Absolutely. He's definitely lying. Maybe he has trouble lying to women. Either that or a lack of respect for women. It's weird.
I'm certain he's proud of me. And it's amazing how much strength I can get from that. It's amazing how much strength you can get from knowing that your ancestors looking down on you and you're doing your absolute best. I also believe that God can be proud of you when you do your absolute best. And I don't think many people genuinely do their best in the world anymore. When I say do your best, people sit and go, oh yeah, okay. No, when's the last time you actually did your best? Like, I don't train to run marathons, but I know if I gave my best, I could run a marathon right now, first try. If I gave my best, life depending on it. When's the last time people have genuinely given their best to anything? There are people going through the world and going through life today that don't give their best or 100% effort to anything ever. Ever.
I agree with
They
him
can't
on
remember
that.
the last time they tried. So when I'm sitting in a dungeon, I'm sitting in a Romanian jail cell, I understand that it is a chance that God has given me and my ancestors are watching for me to do my absolute best and to show to them that I am the man I say I am. You can't become the most famous man in the world for mental resilience and God not test your mental resilience. I think that would be a very amateur way to view the world, that you can now become one of the most famous men in the world who talks about mental discipline and mental resilience, and God's not going to test it. I think God's going to come along and say, okay, you want to be Mr. Famous. All right, let's see what you have. So I believed it was a chance to show God and show my ancestors and show my father that I am the man I say I am. And it's amazing how much strength you can draw from that, because I don't think many...
He is desperate for the approval of his father. And honestly, guys, probably a lot of his toxicity is a reflection of the fact that he is desperate for the approval of his father that will never come, not only because his father is not alive anymore, that would be a very good reason why he will never get the approval of his father, but the real reason is that even if his father was alive, his father would never give him his approval because Andrew Tate's father was a narcissist and probably irrevocably fucked up Andrew Tate as a result. And Andrew Tate is constantly going to be striving to get the approval from his father that he believes would have been forthcoming, but never would have been forthcoming because that's not how narcissists perceive their children.
Men especially understand that even if you don't have the strength to be a hero for yourself, you should have enough discipline and enough honor to want to be a hero for somebody else. And if you have other people you truly respect, you should want to be a hero for them. And I think that's the masculine imperative. If someone's going to attack your wife, that's when you become a hero for her. You have to. What kind of man are you if you're not? And you can apply that to other things. If you apply that to your ancestors, or you apply that to God, or you apply that to your beliefs or your core principles as a man, then you can be a hero anytime you want. So
it's so funny that you say that because it really does. Everything goes back to biology. I think about this all the time, no matter how much sociology is behind everything, telling men to act like women and women to act like men. At the end of the day, women want a masculine man. And when they don't have a masculine man and they beat their man into submission, they're not attracted to them anymore. When it's a tail in between, it's just not attractive anymore. And I used to maybe think of this boyfriend that I had when you were talking about, just defending the realm, this sort of responsibility that men have.
You're going to tell me that Candace Owens' husband is more masculine than she is? Does anyone believe that Candace Owens' husband is more masculine than Candace Owens? I mean, and I say that as like, I'm a masculine woman. I have a lot of masculine energy. Now, my husband, I'm very lucky to be married to a Ukrainian because my husband actually has masculine energy as well. But like, are we under the illusion that Candace Owens' husband is more masculine than she is? Because I'm not under that illusion at all. He's a British aristocrat. Are you kidding me?
And I remember sitting there realizing that I had to break up with him because I thought that if somebody burst through the door with a gun, I was going to have to be the one that would have to defend us because he was just such a flower.
100%.
And
okay. That reminded me of a funny story of my husband. Okay, this is a little bit of a sidetrack, but I'm gonna show you like how much my husband like this is gonna be proof that my husband is actually definitely more masculine than Candace Owens' husband. So my husband a lot of times will my husband and I have different sleeping schedules. And so a lot of times my husband will just end up falling asleep on the couch downstairs. It's not a reflection of the fact that like he couldn't come sleep in the bed like with me if he wanted to, but he just ends up falling asleep on the couch downstairs because we have very different sleeping schedules and it works for us and it's fucking great. Well, about a couple months ago or something, I was sitting on the couch with him in the living room and I noticed, I was like, he has his gun, like his pistol, sitting on the couch. I'm like, why the fuck is the gun sitting on the couch? And he was like, because bear attack. And I was like, what the fuck do you mean because bear attack? I was like, when has there ever been a bear attack? He's like, Carlin, if a bear comes through our door, I want to be able to have the gun to shoot the bear. And I was like, I was like, you have a gun sitting on the couch just in case a bear breaks through the sliding deck door in our living room. He's like, yes, that door is easy to move off the hinges. I was like, okay, Victor, if it makes you feel better to have a gun on the couch to protect us from potential bear attack, fine. Do you like follow your bliss? Anyway.
It's in society is yet blaring at men to do the opposite. And
they're trying to confuse us.
This is why I think you have a platform. This is my whole theory that I built in my head about why you have a platform, is because Lena Dunham came before you, right? And I think that for years, men were told to act like sissies. Yep. Men were told to put your tail between your legs. That was the message, the agreed upon message that came with, Hillary Clinton running, the Me Too movement, all of these things where men were basically told that if you have a masculine instinct, you're guilty.
Yep.
And then inevitably, because there is an equilibrium in this world, because there was Lena Dunham's, because there were the Taylor Swifts, because there was the girl squads, eventually what would have to happen was that it was going to have to be evened out by someone saying, no, F that, be a man.
Yeah. And I don't feel guilty for being a man, and I don't think any man should.
No, I don't think so either.
And I think that the most annoying thing about all of this is just how genuinely hypocritical it is, because there's all this feminine movement and we don't need men and men don't matter, etc. That's only
to many, the whole, it's a agreed upon message that men suck.
Absolutely. And it's only in the most favorable possible circumstances where females will say that. And that's what's so disingenuous about it, because as soon as things actually begin to get hard, the closer we get to the realities of life, the closer we get to the unfortunate circumstances of the world, and they exist in many places.
I mean,
the faster you'll see people look for.
This is a great point. And I gotta be honest, guys, like I used to be in a place I was like defending men, be like, okay, yeah, I understand that like these attacks on men are like not good and like whatever. I'm no longer in that place. And I'll tell you why. Because of the amount of male crying that I have heard in regards to the Barbie movie, which was not a movie that was made for men in any way, shape, or form. And they're all being such snowflakes about the Barbie movie. And it's just like, you know what? Like, I'm never going to defend you again. I went out of my way to defend men. I did. I'm not defending you anymore because this is crazy. Like, you can't let women have one effing thing. And in regards to this Lena Dunham thing, I agree. Like, Lena Dunham is not a threat to masculinity. Do you know how you make Lena Dunham go away? You don't watch her shows or her movies. You just don't watch them. I haven't even seen Lena Dunham in quite literally years. And I used to watch Girls. I actually kind of I like some of the things that she did in Girls. I did. Like, I mean, people can be pissed off or whatever, but like, I thought that some of the stuff she did in Girls was actually really good. But I have not watched Lena Dunham in years. It's so easy to make these people go away. And if you think that Lena Dunham is the greatest threat to masculinity in the world, then you are fragile and you need to step up your own game.
Traditional masculinity to protect them. So it's not even like it's a genuine belief. That's what's so upsetting about it, is that it's just, I don't know if these people are delusional or if they're deliberately hypocritical. I'm not sure which one it is.
I think they're brainwashed. I think it's a two-pronged approach. I think it's the cultural messaging, and also in the education system, they're actively learning that this feminism is what you need to aspire towards. Like, when you get out of school, women, you should want to compete with men in climbing the corporate ladder. Yeah. I actually think there's a mass brainwash that's taking place.
Oh, completely.
Women having a job is not feminism. God, this pisses me off. First of all, there are a lot of problems with the public school system, and there are a lot of problems that exist within the curriculum that students are learning. And teaching women to go get a job outside of the home is not one of those problems, Candace. Candace Owens is saying women feel like they should have to climb the corporate ladder to compete with men. Well, she has literally climbed the ladder competing with men. So Candace, why don't you just give up your show on the Daily Wire? Just admit that you're no competition for all the other men in the space. That Candace, you realize that your position at the Daily Wire, you took the spot of a probably more competent man, right? Because you're a Black woman, and conservatives love lifting up Black women that say the things that they want them to say. So Candace, you were literally the diversity hire at the Daily Wire. You know that, right? You were the diversity hire at the Daily Wire. So now that we've proven that you are not competent to have the job that you hold at the Daily Wire, and we have proven that your ideology quite literally tells you that it is bad for women to climb up the corporate ladder and have a job and compete with men, when are you going to resign from the Daily Wire, Candace, and give a more qualified man your spot, because you are the diversity hire?
They want to neuter men. And the way to do that is to empower women to a point where they're now the dominant power, especially in the Western world. I believe we live in a matriarchy. I don't believe it's a patriarchy like we're told it is. I actually believe it's the other way around. I can't think of a single law that benefits men over women, but I can certainly think of some that benefit women over men. I think it's very dangerous to be a man in the world today. I think that if women want to destroy a man, it's extremely easy to do. We can look at my current scenario and situation I'm in, and many other men are in the same scenario. I can't think of many examples of a man falsely accusing a woman of something and her losing her entire life, where I can certainly think of ones the other way around. So yeah, they want to turn men into eunuchs because their intention is to make us all slaves. And I say that, and people, It rolls off my tongue and people just hear it and they don't actually think about what I'm saying. Their intention is to turn men into eunuchs because they want to make us all slaves. I want you to actually understand exactly what I'm saying to you, because at the bottom line of revolution has always been young military age males, and they don't want them to have enough balls or enough forward thinking or even enough care for anything outside of themselves to do something about it. Another thing people don't understand is that a lot of these attacks and a lot of things they're trying to do with the culture.
Yep, I want to highlight what Purple Rain here is saying. As a conservative black man, they only hired Candace Owens because she validates their prejudices that many white conservatives have against black people. She says everything they want her to and toes the line. That is exactly correct. The only reason that Candace Owens has the position that she has is Candace Owens is a black woman that is willing to use the approved conservative talking points. The only way you get a job first of all, the only way anyone gets any job at the Daily Wire is to use the conservative talking points that you are given, to never deviate from those. And the minute that you deviate from those, there's going to be a problem. I'll tell you that. But like, I absolutely do agree with this, that they specifically use black conservatives to speak some of those talking points because they don't want to acknowledge real and legitimate problems around race. And I think it's sad. I really do. You know, I think that the right has really shown kind of their true colors. I mean, especially this year. It's been ramping for a while, but like they've really, it's like the right has almost stepped into this thing where they're like, well, they accused us of being racist for years, and so now we're actually going to act racist. And they are acting overtly racist. I'm sorry, guys. Like, we need to call a spade a spade. We really do. That bullshit that's going on in Florida never should have happened. The minute that bullshit about slaves got actionable job skills when they were slaves, the minute that got called out, how conservatives should have handled that was say, our bad, we apologize, we're removing it from the curriculum because you're right. That was a misstep and that was not our intention. That's how it should have been handled. How it was handled is they doubled down on rationalizing slavery as a net positive for slaves as part of the official curriculum in Florida. All to own the libs. It's just like, do conservatives not understand how black people perceive this? And I'm sorry, like, I'm as pasty white as they come. And even I'm like, yo, that's racist. That's actually racist.
Especially, they're trying to inject such innate selfishness inside of people that they don't really care about anything that happens outside of themselves, because then it's very difficult to give a shit about your community. It's very difficult to have any kind of genuine care about your town or your country or an issue. No, they just want you to be self-absorbed, semi-depressed, because depressed people don't fight that hard, watching porn, living inside of your own mind, convinced that somehow you're oppressed for some reason, on the internet typing tweets. That's what they want you to do. And they're going to try and keep you there. And genuine masculinity, yeah, to a degree it's protective, and to a degree also it has parameters. You can't be a man who doesn't say no. You can't be a man who doesn't have standards for himself and for people around him. I'm got labeled as ultra misogynistic because I believe that a man should have standards in his relationship. I believe a man should avoid dishonest people, male and female. You should avoid, if you're a dishonest person, if you lie,
here you are
if you're going to deceive me, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. I don't want to have anything to do with you. I was sitting talking on a panel show saying that women who are dishonest and promiscuous are not the kind of woman I'd ever want to associate with. And I was labeled misogynistic for that. So it's crazy how they'll attack you.
By the way, apparently this has nothing to do with this interview. It's just the timing wise. Excuse me. Apparently Trump is about to get indicted like any second for January 6th. And so can someone please pay attention to like any breaking news around Trump and let us know if he gets indicted in the chat? That would be really great. I appreciate it.
And they'll attack you so violently and so endlessly and repeat it so many times in a bid to beat your soul down. That's what they want, especially from me. I truly believe I'm the number one prize for them to get. If they can get me to just give up. If we can get Andrew Tate to just give up. Being a man's bad. Come on, Andrew, say it. And it's like, it's dangerous, one thing, but it's actually genuinely also sad. When I analyze the situation in the world we're in today, part of me feels sad that we've ended up in this place where the people who are in charge are so evil and their plans are so heinous and the consequences so dire that they know they can only implement them if they genuinely remove the warrior spirit from every man on the planet. Yeah. It's kind of sad.
And the warrior spirit is really important. And it's something that I speak about a lot, that men need to go be men. Even in capacity of my marriage, my husband needs his guy time. I need my girl time.
Yep.
The masculine and feminine, it's very important. The fact that my husband hunts and shoots and does these things, that's very attractive to me.
Yep.
To know that if the grocery store is faded away, that he could go catch dinner.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? That he knows how to skin an animal.
Absolutely.
And they poison that. Look at the hunters. Look at the way they view hunters. They look at people in the South.
Yep.
This is why they know how.
Candace Owens does know, right, that her husband is not doing actual hunting where he's like going out into the woods and sitting in a tree stand and you know, dragging a deer. And I know about this because my father was a hunter growing up, like real hunting, like would go out and sit in the woods in a tree stand for hours at a time, shoot a deer, drag the deer out of the woods, string the deer up in our garage, and then skin the deer. And so my father did like actual hunting, right? Candace Owens' husband is like a British aristocrat that like goes to some sort of like swanky estate and they set him up with like deer or elk or whatever, and they get him a safe distance and they basically do all the work and he pulls the trigger, and then all of his staff around him go and get the deer and take care of everything. I come on, Candace Owens' husband is not fucking a hunter. Come on. Oh, Trump just got indicted. Oh yeah. You know what? Fuck it. This is like the shit show that never ends. Now all we need is a good Biden impeachment after the testimony yesterday. If the Republicans don't impeach Joe Biden, I want a show impeachment trial for like weeks. I am going to stream every single bit of any show impeachment trial or any Trump indictment or anything like that. I am milking this clown show for every single thing that it's worth.
How to ranch, they know how to farm, they know how to survive on their own, which is why they start to poison that mentality, which is why I think it's really important that you're speaking to young men about why it is okay to be a man, giving them permission to be a man in a capacity that I can't give them that permission. In the same way that I try to give women the position to know that don't allow them to delude you to believing that this is femininity. It is not femininity, Lena, to have your husband offer your body to another man on camera. That's the poisoning. They teach women that this is sexual freedom, that this is sexual liberation. Yeah. I looked at that and I saw a slave relationship. I saw a master offering his slave to another person because he was just so, I just love Andrew Tate. Would you like to see with my wife? I would be okay with that. That is horrific. That is not femininity. That is not masculinity.
Correct. I absolutely agree with you on that point. You're totally right there. And I think that's probably one of the most misogynistic things that have happened on the internet in recent times, but perhaps they're on the right side of the political spectrum. I don't know which side they're on, but if they're on the correct side, you seem to get away with things.
As you all know, faith is an essential part of my life. My family is always...
No ads.
Hallel, the #1 Christian prayer app in the United States.
But
Candace Owens,
it's very interesting what you're saying about your husband and fishing and hunting and stuff. I completely agree with you. And there's another thing about masculinity as a whole that I don't think that a lot of people want to address, but it's something that's certainly large in terms of my following. Because if we break down, if anyone's watching this now and they're trying to understand why is Andrew Tate so popular? Well, I believe I speak to the base instincts of
base instincts. 100%.
Base instincts. And one of the base instincts also for men, I don't think a lot of people understand, is to a degree is peacocking and showing off to a degree. And I do that fantastically. But it is. And if you look at men of old and they used to conquer and they'd wear a feather from the man they killed or a piece of gold they stole. There was always that degree of flexing, showing off. And I think it's being unapologetically masculine and saying, yeah, I'm a big, successful man and I can afford all this stuff. And this is who I am. And I've worked my ass off and this is what I have. And I'm not sorry about it. And I'm dedicated and I'm hardworking. Yeah. And no, I'm not.
Exactly. A consensual, open relationship is slavery, but the lover boy method, where Andrew Tate fucks a woman and then gets her drunk and then uses his bottom bitch to convince her to be a webcam girl when she didn't want to be a webcam girl, and then convinces her to give Andrew Tate all of her money. That's totally fine. But a consensual, open relationship is slavery. Bullshit. Oh yeah, Sean. I'm sorry. I'll turn on subtitles. I forgot.
I don't feel like I should have to cower or hide or apologize to the world for any of these things. And I think that's the reason why a lot of men find affinity in my message. And you're right. Baseline masculinity is being attacked and women women naturally don't find it attractive to find a man who's not that way anyway. But baseline masculinity is being attacked because they want you absolutely not only dependent on the government, so that the government can decide whether you eat that day.
I also want to make something really clear, and I don't know that people who normally watch me need to hear this, but just in case there's someone new, all of these statistics that you hear about women like this, women don't like that, men like this, men don't like that, those are collective statistics, oftentimes from really biased samples. You like whatever you are and whatever you like, you're fine. You are going to be able to find someone to like you. If you are not the typical like masculine man, I promise you there are still girls that are going to want to date you. In fact, some girls are going to want to date you more because you're not the typical masculine man than if you were. If you are a woman and you don't have the perfect body type, or maybe you're a little bit older, I promise you there are still men, and good men and really freaking hot men, that are going to want you. I promise you this is true. Don't listen to these statistics and say, if I don't fit this perfect mold, then I'm never going to be able to find someone to love me, because it is just not true. People like Andrew Tate and Candace Owens use these things like weapons to convince people that if you don't fit in to this stereotype that they are trying to sell to the world, that you will never be loved. Everyone can find people to love them. Everyone can find people to have sex with them. It like really, you just have to put yourself out there and allow yourself to meet people and get to know people and stuff like that. But don't ever believe that it is impossible for you to find someone to love you, because it is not.
And I don't want to be a pessimist, but I still think in many ways, almost with technological advances, it's going to be very difficult to resist. I think it's actually scary. I don't know how the world's going to be in 100 years from now, but I don't know if there's going to be much freedom left. I don't know about you, but when I look at the things they're doing with CBDCs and electric cars and the way the currency is going to change, it's going to be very difficult to resist without literally starving to death. So I don't know what's going to come. So
learn to farm.
Learn to farm.
Hunt,
that's right.
Don't let them convince you that's somehow racist and sexist and backwards and veganism. Like, you better learn to do all of those things, because
we need men now more than ever, right?
Yeah.
And also, I do believe, and this is going to get me called misogynistic, but I'm going to say it anyway, I do believe we need masculinity, especially in the households, because I believe that women are more emotionally led and men are more logically led.
It's true.
And I think that the propaganda machine and the news machine primarily uses emotional arguments as opposed to logical arguments.
And women fall for the
emotional arguments. So if you have a woman who's in charge of the household and her man can't resist her commands, and they put on the news, be afraid, COVID's going to kill everybody. She gets afraid. Now you have a whole household of people with masks on, 8 vaccines, and down the insanity hole. Whereas a man with logic would sit there and do exactly what I did and say, look, all right, let's calm down for 2 minutes. Let's just wait, because the news lies. So let's just wait till Wednesday before we start taking injections. Let's chill. So I think also masculinity is needed, because what they're going to do when they try and make us all slaves, they're going to use emotional arguments. And they're going to come along with, I was talking about COVID with someone the other day, and we were saying how insane it all was. And I said, imagine how insane something like COVID will be once the police force are robotic. Imagine once it's all AI, no mask, done. Like, at least in certain countries, and I know because I traveled the entire world during COVID, I'll say here publicly on the internet, I broke every single COVID rule. I broke every single lockdown restriction. I broke all of them. Every single one. Never listened to any of them.
I broke more.
It's a competition.
Yeah, so if it's a competition, I broke more.
You sure?
And from day one, I was like, absolutely not. I didn't even let people that were wearing masks into my house. I was like, my baby will not look up and see somebody wearing a mask in his crib. That's scary.
Yeah.
Looking like Bane looks over his crib. Like, that's just not happening.
Amazing. But yeah, I mean, me and my brother, we moved to Sweden. We resist the COVID thing from the absolute beginning. We tried our best because Sweden was completely wide open. Absolute insanity. But yeah, even the COVID thing, if you look at it, the emotional argument that was used and how they controlled the world, and they're going to use emotional arguments to control us with everything. I talk about the police force being AI. What they're going to eventually do is say, cops shoot people, humans make mistakes, cops are racist. We're going to give you robot cops that never make mistakes, because cops are racist and cops can make mistakes, but these robots never make mistakes ever. And then once all the police force are completely robotic and they've removed all our weapons, you think something like COVID 2.0 isn't coming? You think you're not going to be locked in your house? You think they're just going to let you live in peace and walk around outside? Are you an idiot? And they're going to do all of this with emotional arguments.
That's why they want a matriarchy.
Absolutely, because with a matriarchy, you can affect it with emotionality. You can sit there and say, the planet is dying. Don't you care about the trees?
Oh,
give us all your
my
money.
God, that's really how he perceives women. Are you kidding me? Andrew, I could run circles around you in any intellectual game you want to play, and I wouldn't make one emotional appeal when I did it, because you are about the dumbest person that I've ever seen on the internet. And the fact that you really think that that is reflective of how women talk and how women approach the world, it only reflects, Andrew, that you have had yourself around, well, and this makes sense given your line of work, you have put yourself in proximity to probably, I mean, really low-level women that probably aren't very smart. I mean, that's probably one of his more normal faces, if we're honest about it.
And people will sit there and go, oh, yeah, I do feel bad about the planet. Okay, it's just an extra 18% tax. And they can fall for it. So emotional arguments are how you get your way with anything. If you give me somebody, if you put somebody in front of me, I can convince with an emotional argument. I can convince them almost anything. Almost anything. Logic is much harder to do. So we need masculinity even in the household. And I'm just talking about baseline masculinity of just the logic and the rock solid self-assurance to sit there and say, no, I'm in charge of this house. Let's all just calm down. Well, let's not get emotionally led by this news channel, and let's be very smart about what we do and how we react to things. And that's why it's under attack. And I think I talk about revolutions and I talk about men being the military age males who are going to eventually stand up, etc. But I'm not be doomsdays about anything. I don't want to get arrested for any accusations. But even just having a masculine essence in a household makes the whole household harder to psyop. I truly believe that. And I can just think of COVID, and I use it as an example because it's the most recent large psyop they've attempted on us, where the amount of people I saved personally, I must have saved 200 people's lives from that vaccine. Me personally, just because me as a man, they'd come to me and go, you know, I want to.
I saved 200 people's lives from the vaccine. Bro. Like, okay. Show of hands in the chat. How many people believe that Andrew Tate saved the lives of 200 people from the vaccine? Let us know if you agree with that.
Travel and I'd say, listen, I don't even have time to explain to you, but have I ever been wrong? No, don't get it. Okay.
Oh my God.
A year later, they're like, I'm so glad I didn't get that. I'm like, I told you. Like, it's amazing, like what a masculine essence can do. So that's another reason it's under attack, because if they can remove the masculine essence from society, well, now you have a society. Imagine a society where you can control purely with emotional arguments. We're almost.
This is completely unhinged from reality, guys. This is like narcissistic. So grandiosity is something that like, well, not all narcissists, but like a lot of them have like this grandiose view of themselves where like everything I do is great and amazing and perfect, and I am the gift to humanity in the world. Look, Andrew Tate's even doing what I'm doing with my arm right now. I didn't even notice that when I started doing it. And like, I have saved literally hundreds of people just by saying, bro, have I ever been wrong? No, don't get the vaccine. Like, are you shitting me, Andrew? Come on. And Candace Owens is just sitting there being like, yes, Andrew. Yes, and Andrew, you basically saved the entire world from the vaccine. In fact, I didn't get the vaccine because of you, Andrew. You are so smart and so wise and so masculine. You are absolutely correct, Andrew. You are what the world needs. You are going to save us all. Bro.
There.
We are in a matriarchy, and this is why they accuse me of being an internalized misogynist, because I'm able to think through and acknowledge the flaws of what happens in society when women get power. And if you want to know what happens, look around you. Women fall for emotional arguments the entire time. Show us a commercial.
When are you resigning
It's so
job,
sad.
Candace?
And before they get to the rational aspects of it, they're already invested emotionally. And I think that virtually every societal ill that we are facing today is because of women. And I think the greatest recent example of that is the Bud Light controversy, because
Wait. Fuck you, Daily Wire.
Yeah.
Nobody cared for years until men stood up to it. So yeah,
completely, because it's emotional arguments. And if we also analyze, I mean, there's certain things that women can do so much better than men. I said this the other day. I was saying to my brother, my brother had his daughter here and my niece was here. And I said, isn't it amazing? I found this amazing. I said, isn't it amazing the patience a mother has with a toddler? I'm like, she's been listening to Peppa Pig for 4 hours. I would lose my mind. I couldn't do it. I simply couldn't do it. So women have this emotionality, which is so fantastic when it's properly used, when it's put in the place it's supposed to be. I would never drop my child off to a daycare full of men. Would you drop your 3-year-old child to a daycare run exclusively by males?
No.
It'd be weird. It's just something about it is weird. I wouldn't trust the men not to lose their temper with the kid. I wouldn't understand why all these men want to be around these children all day. It would be a very weird scenario. So we all understand innately our gender roles, innately on some level. So women have a fantastic superpower when it's properly used. But like everything on earth, if you have a superpower or any kind of power at all and it's put in the wrong direction, it can be destructive. Water, if it's going through a dam, can power a city. If it's not going through a dam, it's a flood. So we have all this emotionality put in the wrong direction, and now they're in positions of power or whatever, or they're controlling the culture, or they're controlling how households are run, and they can fall for these emotional traps, these very simple, basic emotional traps.
He literally thinks that all women are stupid. Andrew Tate, because he is an absolute moron, thinks that because he has to be the logical one in his he is the logical, amazing, smartest, most like whatever like man in the history of men, right? And so because he doesn't respect women have to be stupider than Andrew Tate. The problem is that Andrew Tate's a raging fucking moron. He is not smart. And so any women that Andrew Tate has probably interacted with in his life are probably stupider than he is, because there are a lot of really stupid bitches in the world too. We need to acknowledge that. It's true. And Candace Owens is just sitting there. Yes, Andrew, women are just too emotional and women just need to and let men have their proper role and blah, blah, blah. Candace, when are you resigning your job with the Daily Wire, Candace? If women are just too emotional to be in the world and women ruin everything, and women should never have any power, and women are the bane of society, then when are you resigning your job with the Daily Wire, Candace, to give it to a more qualified man? Because, Candace, you were the Daily Wire diversity hire. And so it is incumbent upon you to resign your job and allow a more qualified man to take over, because you think that women are just so awful in the world. Thank you, Philosophist, for the super chat. I believe, if anything, Tate will be remembered for his humility and Candace for her journalistic integrity. Well, that definitely is not a sarcastic super chat at all, Philosophist. Absolutely not. I definitely don't read the sarcasm oozing off of your very kind words.
Traps. It's for grandma. The most basic, dumb level. And I sit there and say, grandma's 98. 98-year-olds die. And I'm not saying she should die. I'm saying 98-year-olds get sick. Who said it was COVID? Prove it was COVID. She got the flu
I'm
last
sorry.
year.
You are way too stupid.
Have you lost your mind?
Is this sarcasm?
But grandma.
Hang on. Is this sarcasm? Because I'm going to ban you if this isn't sarcasm. Like, this is like if this is sarcasm, cool, man. But like, if this isn't sarcasm, you're just not smart enough to be on my channel. It might be sarcasm. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Let me know.
Which is funny because I think the average life expectancy is
Jesus
73. So if they've made it to 92,
they've done great.
They've done great.
Absolutely.
And I said that, and people thought that that was so harsh and so mean.
Because there you go, harsh, mean, emotionality.
Yeah.
And emotionality is used against people, which is also why they don't like stoicism. Is why when you have a man who's hard to emotionally affect, they also see him as a threat. I've had it from a lot of people. I've had some of the hate mail I've got, and I get a lot of. I probably get about 10,000 emails a day. I'd say about 9,000 of them are support and 1,000 of them are fervent weirdos. And the weirdos are like, you're a psychopath because all this is happening to you. You don't even care. It's like, they're threatened by the fact that I'm stoic. They're threatened by the fact that I won't cry and lose my mind over it. They're like, oh, he has emotional control. He's a threat, because then they can't lie to me. They can't.
Andrew Tate is decidedly not stoic. Andrew Tate spent like the first 30 minutes of this interview being incredibly defensive because he was triggered about something. He looked so scared he was almost going to cry. If anyone thinks that Andrew Tate is stoic, you need to actually look up what stoicism is and learn more about stoicism, because Andrew Tate is not the epitome of what that entails. I'm sorry.
Psyop me. And they want you to be emotionally incontinent. And this is another thing they're teaching men. They're teaching men to act out your feelings. Well, why are they doing that? Because that makes you an emotional person and you're easier to control. They don't care that that damages society by extension. Because when you tell men to act out their feelings, that's why you get school shooters. That's why you get rapists. That's why you get murderers. Why does somebody murder someone? Because he's mad. He's acting out his feelings. He's not a very stoic person if he goes, I hate you, bang. Right? So they're teaching all this emotional incontinence in men, trying to pretend they care about society. It's destroying society in real time. They have no interest in actually preserving anything that's important about masculinity. And the only reason they're doing it is because that allows them to use emotional arguments. Now they can sit and say, okay, these men act out how they feel. So let's make them angry and they might riot. And let's make them riot on this street. Let's leave some bricks on this street.
Brucey, I agree.
You understand what I'm saying? It's all absolutely and utterly done on purpose. And it's kind of amazing to me that nobody sits there and understands the best way you can rebel.
How is Lydia's channel going? Does anyone keep an eye on what Lydia's doing? How is life going for Lydia, like preparing for the Civil War? I haven't checked in on Lydia in like a long ass time. Lydia also pretends to be stoic. Lydia's just a bitch. Lydia was never stoic. She was just a bitch.
Against the slave mind and resist the matrix is just be the kind of person who uses logic, is stoic, is emotionally controlled, is physically strong because a strong body is a strong mind, who refuses to be told or labeled as something. You can't label me as a depressed person. You can't label me as some kind of disease or some kind of personality disorder. You can't label me a color. I'm Andrew Tate. This is who I am. I work hard for my last name. I understand what's right and wrong. I'm going to do my absolute best. And that alone in and of itself is an act of rebellion against these people.
Society really started going down the drain when we started getting into mental health awareness. And this is maybe one of my most controversial viewpoints, but I say it over and over on the show. Everybody needs a therapist. They're talking about their feelings. The truth is that every feeling you have isn't valid, doesn't need to be explored. Sometimes you just have a wacky feeling and you just let it go. And because
sometimes, Candace, you need to talk things through with someone objective in order to realize that the feeling that you have is temporary, not that it's not valid, it's temporary, and talking to someone about it can help you realize that it's temporary and that maybe there are other perspectives, and that can help you move through it, Candace.
My grandfather was such an impact on my life, strongest man that I've ever known, didn't shed a tear. At my grandmother's funeral, they were together from the time he was 17 years old until her dying day. I'm certain he collapsed when he got home.
Yeah, of course.
But this traditional display of masculinity, in my grandfather's perspective, that a man needs to let it die in his chest, before displaying this emotion, had an impact on me. And when I see, like, I guess to give a cultural example, someone like Prince Harry, on TV, with his arms like this, breathing and showing what he learned in therapy, it makes me want to die a little.
Completely.
It makes me want to die a little when I see men acting like this.
Completely.
And that's controversial because they're supposed to say, oh my God, he's so brave. It's so stunning. Like, he's showing this side of him. Everything about Prince Harry, to me, is what a man should not be. Right?
Absolutely.
What you've done to your family, betraying your family, allowing a woman to assert that much control over you that you would, for profit, betray your family. I mean, everybody's got a family. Everybody's got family issues. Don't even let me get started. But the idea of selling out your family and then going
the royal family, selling out the royal family. And what
happened? It's such a display of what's happened to men, what's happened to masculinity. He's giving up his guns. He's never going to do this anyway. It's all of it is such a public example of what can happen.
The thing is, I know what's so interesting is I know how miserable he is.
He's miserable.
There's no way a man can be happy in that scenario, because I think
Harry is having an affair on his wife right now. And so I think that Harry is probably more okay with the situation than Meghan Markle is. I'm just saying. They're going to get a divorce. He's going back to England. He's going to be way happier in this situation in like a couple of months. But yeah, he's having an affair right now. We psychicked it last week on the show.
Masculine happiness comes from strength and to a degree excellence, and also comes from respect. Men want to be respected, and he doesn't respect himself. His family doesn't respect him, and his woman doesn't respect him. I know how unhappy he is. I know how unhappy she is by extension. It's just an unhappy, miserable house. He gave up everything and gained absolutely and utterly nothing. This whole therapy thing, the reason I believe they push therapy so heavily is because it goes into something I said a little bit earlier about selfishness. If you convince somebody that they have to spend hours and hours per week sitting in a chair talking about that feeling they had last Thursday in the kitchen.
That's crazy.
It's insane.
Crazy.
You want to talk about creating mental illness? There it is. This exasperates problems. This makes it worse. And it also builds this culture of absolute and utter selfishness. Excuse me, they're trying to put you in jail for the rest of your life effectively because they're going to enslave you and they're going to control all the money and they're going to make you get injections you don't need. Yeah, but I'm sad. I got therapy. I'll talk about it later. Yeah. That's all they want. They just want you to be so obsessed with how you feel in your own mind that you can't even look outside of yourself and care about anything. It's part of the propaganda machine. It's part of the mechanism to turn us all into docile farm animals. I said this to somebody the other day. They were talking about how they feel. And I said, who cares how you feel? And he goes, well, what do you mean? Well, I don't care. You're telling me I know you and I don't care. So all the people who don't know you don't care. The woman.
Autumn, you cannot possibly be defending Meghan Markle, Autumn. I let you stay on this channel even though you're a socialist. But if you're defending Meghan Markle, that might be a step too far.
When you want doesn't care. You can't go up to a chick in a bar and say, you know what? Usually I'm really charming. Today I'm a bit sad. Can you give me a pass? Can you let me off? She'll be like, go away, weirdo. The chick you want doesn't care. The job you're supposed to perform at doesn't care. If the man who wants to mug you decides to pull out a machete, he doesn't care. You can't say, bro, I'm not in the mood for a fight today. Tomorrow, please. Nobody cares. So why do you care? All the people out here in the world don't care, but you're going to sit there and you're going to care. You're the only person in the world who cares. You're going to walk around telling everybody, trying to find somebody who gives a shit. Good luck. Because what's going to happen is you're going to walk around feeling sorry for yourself, trying to find somebody who cares. You might find somebody who pretends to care long enough for you to get a little bit of dopamine. But all in all, you're wasting time in a hyper-competitive world where people like me who perform regardless of how they feel are just going to perpetually bury you. And then you're going to sit there and wake up and go, why am I a loser? Well, because when Andrew was sad, he continued to perform. When Andrew was in jail, his business didn't fall apart. He was doing push-ups every day. His body didn't fall apart. Nothing about his life degraded when he was in a jail cell surrounded by cockroaches. You're in a plushy bed at home.
Really?
Crying about what?
Really?
And
Andrew, hang on. In this little rant, Andrew Tate has given something away about his business that he doesn't realize that he's given away. Andrew, how is it possible that your business did not suffer at all when you were in jail? Because if you aren't around to run the business because you're in jail, then it seems to me that the only way that that's possible is if someone else is running your business. And I bring that up because on yesterday's show, Candace Owens asked Andrew Tate if he's still involved with this OnlyFans webcam bullshit. And he said, I haven't been involved with that for years. So it kind of sounds to me like the loophole that Andrew Tate is waffling around with all of these conservative influencers who are not pressing him on anything is that Andrew Tate is not directly involved with the operations of the business that landed him in jail. He has put a wall up or something to try to protect himself from any nonsense or any legal repercussions that are going on with this business, which is the only way that the business would have not suffered when he was in jail. He has other people involved running it, and it's his business at the end of the day. Like, the buck stops with him because it's his company. He's the one making money off of it, but he's tried to insulate himself from it. And that's why Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson are not asking Andrew Tate, how are you making your money? Which is really the only question they should be asking him. How are you making your money? But they won't do it.
You expect the male world's hyper competitive. So you're not allowed almost as a man to put that much importance on how you feel. You don't have time to care about it because you have too much to do. This is what I find so remarkable. If I feel sad, I don't think, how do I stop myself? I need to not feel
Lydia,
sad. I just go to work. I got stuff to do. I'm a man. I have things to do every single day. this whole therapy garbage. I can't think of a way faster to ruin your mindset and destroy your ability to resist the perils of life than go into therapy.
And the overdiagnoses of everything. It's like, you have this, you have that. And then people take that as an excuse to not ever have to get better.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, now I can be permanent because I realize I've got this. I went to the doctor and the doctor says that I have this. And so that's the reason why I don't respond. I've got ADHD. I think now it's like 1 in 2 people has ADHD. And that's why I'm not able to focus and do my homework or complete a task or keep going to the gym every single day. I hate it. It's the self-fulfilling prophecy.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I really can't think of a quicker way to destroy your mind than go to therapy. Part of me, if I had time to waste, Candace, which I don't, because I've been on house arrest long enough, and once I'm out of here, I'm going to enjoy myself. But if I had time to waste, I would love to go to start therapy. I would love to, like, imagine me, Andrew Tate. I'm going to go to a therapist, and she's not going to know who I am, and I'm going to sit there, I'm going to do therapy, and I'm going to do a video. I might actually do this. It's actually a great idea. I might do a video after each therapy about what bullshit it was. And just sitting there talking about, okay, when you were 8, yeah, what happened when you were 8? Because when in your childhood, not everything's because of my childhood. Not everything works that way. Like, it's so asinine.
You absolutely are the way you are, Andrew, because your father was a narcissist and probably emotionally abused the fuck out of you and your brother and your mother, which you don't want to admit because you've rewritten history to create some grandiose version of your father where he was the king and did nothing wrong, when in fact your father was the one who fucked you up. Andrew Tate could probably benefit from therapy more than most people. Well, no, I actually take that back. I take that back. Andrew Tate wouldn't benefit from therapy at all because Andrew Tate is a narcissist. He's a lower level narcissist, which means that he can never actually become aware of what he is or why he does what he does. Because if Andrew Tate became aware of what he is and why he does what he does, it would destroy his entire self-construct, and he would, you know, quite literally destroy himself based on that. But yeah, maybe, Andrew, you're so defensive about your childhood and not talking about it in therapy because you know your childhood was the problem. Sorry.
Actually had conversations with therapists, I think twice in my life. I did a TV show in England and I had to speak to a therapist. And then I think it was another TV show, 2 TV shows.
Exactly right,
Purple
Rain. Exactly
right. And I sat there and said, I don't believe in your science, because in math, 1 + 1 is 2. And we understand that. Whereas with what you teach, you can have a guy who doesn't drink alcohol because his dad was an alcoholic, and a guy who is an alcoholic because his dad was an alcoholic. So how can you have the same scenario and 2 completely different outcomes? She goes, oh yeah, but there's general rules we can follow. I said, then let's end the conversation. I'm not a general person. I'm exceptional. So can we just stop wasting everybody's time here? Because all your general rules don't apply to me. I'm smarter than you. What do you? Goodbye. I'm a world champion. See ya. Like, it's just garbage. And
none of your rules apply to me because I'm more exceptional than you and smarter than you and a world champion. None of your rules apply. It's almost like he's a narcissist.
I really do believe, I think there is this mass drive to instill the idea of absolute selfishness in people. I think they're trying to, when I really analyze the ideal citizen they want, the ideal citizen is, yes, docile, and yes, he's unique, but he's also ultimately selfish, because then you don't care about community. And I think therapy is a fantastic way to make you selfish. Because that's all you talk about is, what do you talk about? Garbage.
Exactly.
Yeah, why you have the right to act this way, even if you're
Why
acting
I
terrible.
feel, why did I do? Well, you know, when I was 9, get a life.
That's really Prince Harry's book, honestly.
Is it?
Yeah, I could only get past the first 2 chapters. I was like, it should have just been called Privileged. You know what I mean?
And this is the thing.
These aren't even struggles.
And here's the thing. I think Margaret Thatcher said the best upbringing you can have is good parents and no money. Because you look at Prince Harry you can't talk about anything better for a perfect upbringing. Royal family. Come on. It's not his fault, right? Royal family, fine. But he was supposed to have gone to the army. He went to Afghanistan and supposedly he fought, but obviously he didn't. He's the prince.
Played Xbox.
Of course, he just sat in the back. But if you don't give a man struggle, look what he becomes. Tell me the kind of man, if I were to say to you, imagine a man who's never struggled in his life. Physically, mentally, everything's gone perfect for him. He's born in the royal family, everything's been perfect for him his whole life. Is that the kind of man anybody respects? Is that the kind of man anyone...
Everything's been perfect for Prince Harry his whole life. Are you shitting me? Listen, I'm not going to suggest that Prince Harry has had the most difficult life in the world, because I don't think that he has. But being involved in being a member of the royal family is it's first off, it's like basically being in prison your entire life. You grow up in the public eye. Everyone knows everything that you're doing at all times. If you make one misstep, it's going to be all over the papers. That's going to fuck up anyone. The royal family is also, not necessarily the most functional of people in terms of their human relationships. And if we really want to put a nice cherry on top, his mother died when he was what? How old was Harry when Diana died? Was he like 11, 13, something like that? His mother died in a car accident that was caused by the paparazzi, who have pictures of the entire thing, was splashed all over the world. And he was 9. And he, at 9 years old, had to march behind his mother's coffin on the world stage, not only losing, by the way, Diana was the only person in either William or Harry's life that actually taught them any sort of empathy or human compassion or any sort of these things. Like, so the only person that had ever shown Harry love, because God knows he didn't get love from grandma. He didn't get love from Charles, because those are not the type of people that grandma and Charles were. He only got love from his mother, who died when he was 9 and had to be put on the world stage marching behind her coffin, and then has to deal with that fucked up reality for the rest of his life. I don't feel sorry for Harry, because in many he was 12, whatever, 12. Still really young. And had to pretend that he was okay. And so I don't feel sorry for Harry, because you know what? We all go through shit in life, and that's just the way it goes. But and he was very privileged in many respects. He could have literally done whatever he wanted with his life. Had so much more freedom in some respects than other people, but also was living in more of a prison. So don't tell me that Harry had a perfect life. You don't have a perfect life when you lose your mother when you're like a child. I mean, come on.
Wants to be, and struggle is subjective, right? So Prince Harry dealing with his current problems of his wife nagging, to him that's full mental breakdown, right? My problem,
Harry's wife is also a narcissist. It's not just nagging. Harry's wife has probably been incredibly emotionally abusive to him. And again, he made his own bed. He married the bitch, right? It is his responsibility. He is an adult. It is his responsibility. I'm not excusing any of that. But the fact of the matter is that when you are in relationships with narcissists, they are incredibly emotionally abusive. She has probably been, extremely emotionally abusive to him ever since they moved to California, and probably was before that as well, but really amped up since they moved to California. And definitely in the last 6 months, he has become a shell of himself in the last 6 months. So don't dismiss what Harry's wife has done to him in terms of just nagging. It wasn't just nagging. She's emotionally abusing him.
are obviously much larger, but struggle is subjective. To us, they're almost on the same level. But if you were to compare them side by side, they're absolutely nothing. So as a man, you have to build resilience, and you build resilience through going through something and building a tolerance to it. And this guy's had such a privileged life that he's ended up a miserable, depressed, unhappy person. So this is what's actually very interesting. When men come to me or young boys come to me and talk about something bad that happened to them, I said, good. Absolutely not really good. You should be glad that thing happened to you, because that's the reason you're going to be the man who can resist the perils of life in the future. If bad things don't happen.
Yes, he lost his mother when he was 12 years old on the world stage. Good. It's going to make you tough it up. Are you shitting me, bro?
Happen to you, you're going to end up like Prince Harry. You do want to end up like that dude, do you?
No one does.
Yeah, exactly. So your life's going to be so easy. You're going to get to the end result and your wife's just going to wreck you. So you need to have all these bad things happen to you so you build the mental resilience. And that's another thing about masculinity and males as a whole. We're trying to take that all away from them in almost every regard. And it's kind of like, there used to be rites of passage where a boy would become a man. That's all gone. There used to be this masculine, very healthy peer pressure to be big and strong, and that's all gone. There used to be, I don't want to use the wrong words. I don't want to get attacked for it, but men used to not pick on each other, not bully each other, but hey, you can't do push-ups, you're weak. We push each other in that way, shame each other to excellence almost. We still do it to this day in this house. Tristan's bigger than me. He's 10 kilo bigger than me. 6'4". I'm 6'3". I'm smaller. He'll bench 160, 170 kilo. I can only bench like 150 kilo. He'll call me a for 3 hours. Like, that's just how we are. So I have to get up and try again. That's how men are. We've taken on.
Women are too. And that's what I'm really against. Sorry to cut you off, but I'm super against this parenting structure where you don't want anybody's feelings to get hurt. I'm one of 3 sisters. We're a year and a half apart. We tried to kill each other. You know what I mean? All I would do is call my sister. No one has called her ugly or more. You know what I mean? I'm like, you're ugly, you're this, you're fat. Da, da, da. That's actually good. Yep. You know, it makes you tougher. And when you see these only children who've never gone through anything, their parents told them they were perfect and wonderful. Yep. And I'm thinking, I wouldn't trade my childhood my sisters trying to kill each other, you know, every single day.
Life's difficult.
Over a t-shirt.
Yeah,
you know?
and it doesn't matter how much money you have. Life is always going to be difficult. It doesn't matter how much you try and shelter your children, how rich you are, what family they're born into. Life is going to be difficult. And if there is no struggle in their life, they're going to find struggle, or something that shouldn't be a struggle will become a struggle for them because their life has been so sheltered, and life is hard. So if you can't avoid the difficulty, you may as well get very good at it. You may as well get good at difficulty. And it's amazing when you look at someone like Prince Harry. He's just a man who has not become very good at difficulty, and he's just completely collapsed in the face of a woman who's complaining at him. And yeah, even worse than all that, the dishonor of selling out. We were talking about how I feel a duty to my bloodline and my last name, and I have to do my father proud. He's from the British royal family. And he had no honor. He couldn't even sit and say, look, listen.
He couldn't even shut up for them.
Yeah, literally. He had to sell out in a book. Like, God does not smile favorably on people who make these kind of decisions. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why he's going to be unhappy for a very long time. And he's going to realize that it was never worth it. And what did he do it for? Money? From the royal family, my friend. You really need money that bad? Like, it's truly shameful. And I think to see
the royal family doesn't actually have as much money as people think they do. And Harry certainly doesn't have access to like the money that Charles has access to or William has access to. So yeah, they did need the money to keep Harry's wife in the lifestyle to which she had become accustomed, because she's a narcissist and wants to be at the upper echelon of everything. And that costs a lot of effing money. But again, like, if this is like the simplistic fucking mindset of like, he's in the royal family, like everything must be perfect. Like, that's just like provably not true based on the fact that his mother died publicly on the world stage when he was 12 years old. Like, you could not, and like, people know, like, I'm a little bit obsessed with like royal things. I think it's interesting. You could not pay me enough to be in the royal family. There is no amount of money that could ever like convince me to become a member of the royal family. Absolutely not. Zeri, I don't know you, but welcome. Having written 4 books on the evils of narcissism, I must say that one doesn't have to like Tate or Candace to see that the only narcs here are unintelligent, nonsense talking bots in this chat. Well, I somehow doubt, Zeri, who I've never heard of before, that you've actually written 4 books on narcissism. Let's just do this right now, because she's obviously conservative that's having some feelings right now. Zeri Ballard. Let's see, Zeri, your books. Oh, self-employed, which means that you have self-published, probably. The Narcissistic Personality. Let's look at Zeri's YouTube channel. How many subscribers does Zeri have? We're gonna ban her after I like. Oh, 2,000 subscribers. 2,000 whole subscribers, Zeri. Oh my God, such a narcissism expert. And then like prosing all over her channel. Let me just see, where are her books exactly? The Narcissistic Personality, Amazon author page. Let's see, what has she actually written? Oh my God, Zeri, you're grifting on this like a little bitch, aren't you? Wow, guys, I'll tell you what. This woman is an example of someone that identifies a category that she probably knows nothing about and says, people will pay me money if I tell them the things that they want to hear. And then she turns out all these books. Where is your bio, Zeri? What kind of credentials do you actually have? Because I'm having a hard time finding it. Let me see. No bio on your website. Where's your bio? What are your credentials? Why don't you have a bio with your credentials on your... Oh, but she does have a nice big donor link, doesn't she? A very large donor link on her website. I know you guys can't see what I'm seeing right now. So no bio on her website, no credentials, just grifting. Zeri's probably one of those people that's like an actual narcissist herself and goes around calling everyone that says things she disagrees with a narcissist. All right, bitch, we've had enough of you now. Goodbye. Goodbye. You know what screams narcissism expert, guys? You know what screams narcissism expert is when you come into an internet chat and you say, everyone in this chat is a narcissist because you're saying things that I don't like and you're questioning my heroes. Nothing screams narcissism expert like someone who says that everyone in an internet chat is a narcissist. That was fun. Rottweiler, thank you for the super chat. This is why a lot of people say bullying is good for you. One thing is enduring and overcoming adversity as a way to build character, but when unchecked, it creates incredibly maladjusted people. I mean, listen, I'm not like, I actually think like a little bit like bullying and teasing, not like bullying that's like physical harm, but like just a little bit of like banter and like teasing and stuff like that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's not going to cause lasting harm. Like I kind of just bullied that that quasi narcissism wannabe expert in the chat a little bit, but like she's grifting on a topic that is actually important and obviously doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. Maybe she'll build a little bit more resiliency, but it's like when you get into the realm of like emotional abuse that's like consistent every single day, I have a problem with that. When you get into physical abuse, I obviously have a problem with that. There is a line that's crossed at some point, but I do think like in general, people need to just learn how to have thicker skin and be a little bit more resilient. Oh, thank you, Sin. I'm gonna look up her Twitter right now. I'm gonna troll. I bet she blocked me on Twitter already or something. Who does that bitch think she is? Oh, less than 1,000 followers, narcissism expert. All right. Anyway, let's keep going.
And treachery are the most heinous and most disliked personal qualities or something you can actually witness somebody do. I think everybody hates them. And it's because anybody can fall.
She's obsessed with Candace Owens. That's what it is. She's obsessed with Candace Owens and so much of a narcissism expert that she doesn't realize Candace Owens is a narcissist. All right, never mind. Moving on.
Fall victim to them. Anybody can fall victim to deceit or treachery because you trust that person. Everybody trusts someone, right? So that person turns on you, you're always in trouble. So I think he thinks that he has the populace on his side. But I don't think he understands that when you out yourself as a snake, everybody intrinsically dislikes you.
Even if they enjoyed watching the show.
Oh, completely.
They've stepped away and went,
right,
okay.
I do.
Because I gave the example on my show. You know, you have the Kardashian family, but the one thing about them is they're thicker than thieves. So America does like a reality show, right? Like a reality show. But the reason why they have gained popularity is because actually they always back each other up. They still remained a family unit.
100%.
And when you betray that, when you betray family, I think left and right, you just kind of go, okay, maybe that was a little too much.
Yeah. It was fun to watch.
It was fun to watch, but we don't really trust you.
I don't want to be your friend. Yeah, I don't want to be your friend.
I don't want to be your friend.
Yeah, completely. I mean, you're going to sell your own brother out?
What am I to you, right? If you do that to your own brother, what am I to you?
Absolutely crazy. And then he wonders why. And I also think what he probably doesn't understand, and if he's watching this, you never know, he might. Hello, Harry. If he's watching this, I don't think he even understands that even his woman views him that way. Even Megan views you that way. Even Megan looks at you and goes, I complained at you over William, and you were supposed to tell me to be quiet, and you didn't. So now I think you're a bitch. Now what? And you wonder why she's never happy. So now he's in big trouble. I don't know what he's going to do with his life.
Remember when Andrew Tate used to be like, I am just so empathetic and I just care about people and I just want to make people's lives better. And now he's like calling people like basically a bitch. You know, he is just so caring and empathetic. It wasn't all an act. I promise. Pinky swear, bro.
He's in big trouble. But it's interesting where I don't see how. It's actually an interesting conversation to have about how psyops can work as a whole, because when I analyze, especially as a man, and I always talk from the masculine frame, not because I'm a misogynist, but because I'm a man. And I understand the masculine frame because I am a man. If you stray from the the archetype of masculinity, if you stray from honor, courage, if you're not dutiful, if you don't believe in putting honor in your last name, if you don't want to be physically and mentally strong, if you don't believe in finding problems to solve, you don't believe in having a difficult life, if you stray from this because you've been psyoped to stray from it, all you end up with is misery. And it's amazing that people will see anybody who's strayed from it end up perma-miserable and still fall for the psyop. I find it incredible that people don't think logically long enough to sit and say, okay, whose life do I actually want? I would never adopt the thinking of somebody whose life I didn't want. I don't know why people even do that.
That's okay. The rare valid point. That is actually a really good point. Do not adopt the thinking of someone whose life you don't want. That's, you know what? Listen, if Andrew Tate says nothing else useful in this entire interview, that's actually really good advice. You need to adopt the thinking of a person that has the life you want, not the life you don't want, not like self-defeatist attitudes, not like putting obstacles in your own way. I'll give him credit where credit is due. That was a really good point.
Sit and have a conversation with Prince Harry for 10 hours straight. And he could be as compendious and convincing and concise, and he could be extremely perfectly articulate with his points. And at the end of it, I'd say, yeah, but I don't want to be you. So I don't want to think like you. So get fucked. Yeah. But I wouldn't want to listen to him. So I don't know why people don't even just wake up and go, okay, whose life do I want to live? What kind of person do I want to be?
But Andrew, it's also, you know, what's not resilient is to not be able to have a conversation with someone without internalizing their point of view. I can have a conversation with anyone without internalizing their point of view. I could have I never would have a conversation with Andrew Tate because I have no desire to be around this asshole at all. But if push came to shove, could I sit my ass down and have Andrew Tate look at a wall? Because God knows he's not going to stare me in the eye because I'm like 10,000 times more powerful than Andrew Tate is. Could I have a conversation with him where I explore his point of view and talk to him about it and then say, Andrew, all of that's bullshit. Like it is. Yeah, I could. But he doesn't seem to think that he can even have a conversation with Prince Harry about how Prince Harry sees the world and why he did what he did and his perspective on things without internalizing his point of view. Of course, well, if that's really true, he really needs to work on his resiliency a little bit and his discernment.
Do I want to be like? That's the kind of thinking I need to adopt and install in my mind, because we're all being programmed by someone to a degree. And I don't think you can escape programming. You can just choose the programming that you are going to install inside of your mind. I'm not going to sit and say I'm not programmed. My father programmed me. My fight coach programmed me. The friends I have around me program me. My brother programs me. My social circle programs me. We're all programmed to a degree. You have to be very careful.
He just pointed to whatever he's looking at when he said his brother. He's looking at his brother. This was a question we had yesterday. I want let me show you guys this. When he said, like, this person programs me, that person programs me, we were wondering yesterday, what the fuck is he looking at when he's looking at an angle and not looking at Candace Owens? And I said, he's probably looking at his brother. Watch where he points when he says, my brother programmed me. He's looking at his brother.
And I'm not going to sit and say I'm not programmed. My father programmed me. My fight coach programmed me. The friends I have around me program me. My brother programs me. My social circle programs me. We're all programmed to a degree. You have to be very careful of who you're going to allow give you the programming. Because if you put it up to society and culture, the current culture, as a man, you're going to end up like Prince Harry. Do you want to be Prince Harry?
It's a big question.
It's a big question.
And the answer is no.
Yeah, the answer is no. It's interesting what you said earlier about putting things back to biology, because a lot of human nature is certainly animalistically biological. And even if we look at Harry and Meghan and how they interact in their home, I obviously don't know, but I can almost guess to the T the arguments they're having. I can imagine him saying, I gave up my family for you. This is what you wanted. I gave you what you wanted. Why aren't you happy? I gave you everything you liked. And he's trying to use a logical or an emotional, well, he's trying to use an emotional argument, but it ain't going to work because she doesn't respect him. He's trying to use a logical argument with her, trying to understand why she treats him so badly after he completely and utterly complied. But humans are biological, and she, as a woman, wanted him to be a man. She wanted him to have some degree of parameter and barrier. And if you don't put...
Meghan Markle never wanted Harry to be a man. Meghan Markle never cared about Harry. Meghan Markle only wanted to use Harry to work her way up the social echelon and get access to what she thought was going to be a lot more money and a lot more status than what she actually got access to. She used Harry for everything that he was worth. Then she started devaluing Harry, and now she's about to discard Harry because she never cared about him. She never wanted to be anything. Harry could have been the most manly, masculine man in the history of manly men. And it still wouldn't have made a difference because Meghan Markle is a narcissist, just like you are, Andrew, and just like Candace Owens is. And she never wanted someone that was going to be like, oh, masculine big man. She wanted someone that she could control and bleed of all of his resources.
Put up any parameter or a barrier as a man. What a woman's going to do is she's going to push you and push you and push you and push you. She's going to see how far she can push you. That's the reality of it. We can talk about any relationship, whether it's Harry and Meghan or any other relationship. If you're a full-grown man and you don't set parameters or set barriers, the woman's going to push you and push you and push you until she eventually finds one. And we can look at that in a romantic relationship, but also people in general. If you're going to give to a taker, they're going to take and take and take and take until you eventually say no. That's how humans work. So she was waiting for him on a biological level to stand up and be a man and say, listen, you've joined the royal family. You're right. You had to bow to the Queen of England. Correct. Because it's the royal family. Get over it. That's all he had to do. He could have saved himself all this mess. He could have saved himself all the running away and looking like a fool and upcoming divorce and all this garbage if he would just put his foot down. He never did. And she was trying to inspire in him the warrior. I think a woman sometimes tests a man to say, okay, how much will he put up with? Because they want to see, are you a man?
Pop quiz in the chat. And this is not something I've told you before, so I want to see how people are able to discern this. Why can't Andrew Tate correctly identify that Meghan Markle is a narcissist? Why does Andrew Tate seem to think that this was a problem with Harry? Why is he incapable of correctly identifying what all of us know is that Meghan Markle is a narcissist? Why can't Andrew Tate see that? And why can't Candace Owens see that? Because he's a narcissist. He cannot identify that someone else is a narcissist because he himself is a narcissist. Exactly. Now, why is that? Let's go one step further. Now, we know, so correct answer on this. Why can't a non-self-aware narcissist identify that someone else is a narcissist? Most narcissists, by the way, guys, are not self-aware. Like Andrew Tate, Candace Owens can never be self-aware of what they are. Okay, I'm going to give you the because a narcissist can't empathize with other people, that could be. He can't see outside of himself, that could be. Because this is getting close, Adrena, very good, because they'd have to know they are one, kind of. He won't tell on himself. That's getting closer. He thinks he's normal. He cannot identify that someone else is a narcissist because, and this was tricky, so I'm not surprised anyone didn't get it like flat out, and I'm willing to take debate on this. What we see in other people, the problems that we see. Yes, Code Monkey. Gold star to Code Monkey. Code Monkey, king of the chat for today. Very, very good, Code Monkey. Very, very good. When we, and this is true of all human beings, guys. This is not just true of narcissists. When human beings see flaws in other people, any flaw that you see in other people is a reflection of a flaw that you yourself have in some respects, right? And so it's going to be really difficult for someone like because like people we see ourselves mirrored back to us in other people. Okay? And so if Andrew Tate identified that Meghan Markle was a narcissist, it's a mirror back to himself. And that can't happen. He can never know that he's a narcissist. He can never admit that he's a narcissist. He can never even ponder the idea that he is a narcissist because that would destroy his entire self-construct. So of course he can't identify that in other people. And the same is true of Candace Owens. They can't identify that with other people. So how can we correctly identify that these people are narcissists? Because everyone has narcissistic tendencies. Every single one of us. Every single one of us have narcissistic tendencies that we can recognize in ourselves, that sometimes we might go, oh, maybe I shouldn't feel that way or like whatever. But we can identify this in other people because it's one of those things where we can, like, normal human beings can recognize like their own narcissistic tendencies. And it's not bad. I don't want anyone to think like you're allowed to, if we didn't have narcissistic tendencies, then we literally wouldn't take care of ourselves. So it's not like a bad thing. I'm not saying this as something that like you should feel like, you should put yourself down over, because you shouldn't. But we're more self-aware of what we are, which is why we can identify things in other people. He is not self-aware of what he is, which is why he can't. Does that make sense to everyone? Fun little lesson for us today.
Man or not? What if a man's giving you shit? What will you do? They want to see if you're about it. And she was just testing him, and he failed every time. And that's why he's tried to perma please her. And now he's in a situation where he's asking her why she's unhappy when he's given her everything she wants. And she's unhappy because you gave her everything she wants because you're a punk.
Women don't want neutered men. They don't.
Absolutely.
Even if they personally neuter them themselves, it's not what they want in the end. So I'll ask the question, what do you think men want in women?
That's a really good question. And I can answer that one easily. I think that the masculine realm that we operate in is based on respect. I think that men are constantly looking for a way to be respected. I think the world is hyper competitive, and we're constantly always looking for status amongst our peers. This is why you will see a man give up his basically entire life to do something which will only gain him respect, even in a very small sphere. There are CEOs who go to work every day and don't even see their family and give up their entire life and work 12-hour days just to feel like the man in that office. Feeling important in that one office, in that one skyscraper, is worth him giving up his life because he feels like he matters. And if he gets more respect in that office than he does at home or anywhere else, that's where he's going to want to be. Men function on that. So if I had to build the ideal woman who could get any man on earth, what she would have to do is understand that I need to give my man as much status and as much respect as possible. I, by extension of him, being next to him, need to make him look respected. And a lot of this is the easy things we know. No one's going to respect the man.
What did he just say? That a perfect woman needs to be an extension of the man. That's another narcissist thing. Narcissists view anyone they're in a relationship with as like an extension of them, as like their personal property, like forever and ever and ever for like the rest of your life. And so it's really telling, like, the perfect woman just needs to be the extension of the man. That's a narcissist.
Who's with an ultra promiscuous woman. No one's going to respect the man who's with a woman who is back talking him or horrible to him in public. No one's going to respect the man who's with a woman who clearly isn't interested in him sexually, whatever. That's all the obvious part. But the hidden actual message behind all of it is that men are constantly looking for status and respect. And a woman who makes her man feel respected, not only from her, but from his peers, is the kind of woman a man's never going to want to lose.
Right.
So if I had a woman and I came home with all 5 of my friends and she came in the house and said, came in the room, who's hungry? Anyone want any food? It's not about food. I'm the G now. I'm the big boss. My woman wants to feed all of us. Of the guys there, most of their chicks would never do that. That's respect. That's status for me. That elevates my status. So I think as a woman, if you're watching this and you want to keep a man happy, you need to wake up and say, how can I improve the status of my man to his peers? How can I make him look more important to the world? And as long as you take that basic mental frame, you can extrapolate that out to anything. Your man is not going to feel high status and important if you've had a whole bunch of sexual partners, because you're promiscuous.
There is just no self-aware. The complete lack of self-awareness in general, but like there is no self-awareness on the part of either of these people that different people in the world want different things. Not all men want the same thing. Not all women want the same thing. Like, not every man wants a woman that's going to spend all day in the kitchen. Some people do. That's fine. If they're in happy relationships, more power to them, man. But not every man wants the same thing. Not every woman wants the same thing. Hey, Carlin, going back to what you said about Andrew Tate not maintaining eye contact with Candace, I think it's because he is Muslim now, and I think one of their rules is to lower your gaze. I mean, that very well could be. I just find it to be incredibly off-putting. And if I was Candace Owens, I would absolutely find it to be incredibly off-putting.
So obviously that's that's no. He's not going to feel high status and important if you belittle him in front of his friends or you argue with him in front of his friends. He's not going to feel high status and important if you disagree with him on small, minor issues about if he votes one way, just vote the same way. Like these small voting's not a small thing, but these things make the
Just
man look in
vote the
charge, it
same
increases
way,
his status, and that's
as
what
the
he's most
man
interested in a
wants
woman.
to.
So
Okay.
that's what men are looking for. That's the secret for the women who are out at home.
Wow.
Who are going, men are hard to please. No, men are actually very simple to please. Make him feel important and make him look important. That's it.
Since when did we decide to stop upholding free speech?
Wow.
Yeah. So I had a fantastic mom. She did what a mother was supposed to do. I guess I was raised in a I call it hyper traditional. The modern world will call it misogynistic household. My father was in charge. It was his household. My mother was in charge of feeding us and clothing us and sending us to school. And
We are only halfway through this. I don't know if I can make it through this whole interview. I don't know if I can watch another hour and a half of this. I'm going to give it a good try. I really am. I just don't know it. I have hours upon hours of socialism that was less painful than watching this interview. And I'm not exaggerating. I really mean it. I would rather go back and watch another 4-hour Socialism Saturday than watch the rest of this, but I'm going to try because I tell people to sit their asses down and listen to things they don't want to. I'm going to give it my best shot.
she did a fantastic job. I think that as a boy, as a man,
Yep.
I always wanted to emulate my father. My father was the superhero. So my father instilled a lot of the mindset that I have, but my mother did a lot of the basic things that kept me alive, if that makes sense.
We should. MSNBC
She was a
watch
fantastic
party.
mom, and she's still alive today, and I love her very much. One of the first things I did when I got rich was retire her completely. So she is one of the people I take care of, and I'll take care of her for the rest of her life. And she did the absolute best she could. And that's the reason we moved to England. They decided to get divorced, and England has a better social care system. We had no money. So we got moved to England, and I grew up in Luton, which is the worst town in England, in an area called Marsh Farm, which is the worst area
of the worst
town. So it's like as bad as you can get, like the worst place you can possibly go. I think my school had a 4% pass rate or something ridiculously low. So I grew up in a really bad area. But my mother, yeah, she was fantastic, and she did the absolute best she could. And she always loved my father to the end. But I think my father, in many ways, there's certainly been a lot of circumstances where he sacrificed his marriage to raise us in a very particular way. Because my mother and father would argue most over the raising of me and Tristan, because my dad was so hard on us. But he said, look, you boys are my legacy. You're more important than arguing with your mother. So I think that's actually why they broke up, because he was so hard on us.
Wow.
But I thank him for it. So yeah, but I don't want to disrespect my mother by saying there isn't much more to say, besides the fact she was a very nice, very loving, very attentive mother. That's what she did. But my dad was always my superhero. And
Right.
I don't know what else to say. My dad was my superhero.
Well, I see it now. My son's only 2, and he's now toddler terrorist, wakes up every day, wants to go to war. I don't want to go to war. I just want to love him.
Yeah.
And so he is obsessed with my husband. I mean, forget it. The second my husband walks the door, it's like I don't even exist, right?
Yep.
Forget the fact that I held him for 10 months. I don't exist. But unless he's sick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, then it's like totally mommy.
Oh, completely.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. So when you want to go to war all day and you're feeling great, it's like dad, he literally just wants to fight him. He goes up and he hits him and he wants him to be thrown around. And I don't want to do it. I'm like, you're kind of big.
Yeah.
I don't want to toss you around. Go find your father.
Yep.
So there actually is a natural proclivity that goes on there too, where like in the way he acts when a man walks through the door, any man, by the way, my son wants their attention. You can see that he seeks their approval at the age of 2. He'll cry in front of the girls, well, it's me, it's my assistant. If it's girls, he's putting on. Then when the guys are there, he instantly stops the crying and stops the tears. So it's so interesting to watch that and examine that with just a 2-year-old. So
well, that's biological, right? This is how we charge at the gunfire. This is how men charge at the gunfire, because we want the respect of our peers. We will literally commit suicide for the respect of our peers. Like it's something that's deep inside of us, or it used to be, it should be. They're trying to take it away from us. But how do you get men to go over the trench, over the line, and charge at machine guns? Well, you do it because everyone else is doing it.
Really good point. It seems he learned his disrespect for women from his father. Yeah. I mean, like, in what universe are you going to get divorced to raise your sons properly? Because it seems to me that they didn't even live with their father. So a more likely scenario is that his father was a narcissist. He emotionally abused everyone in that household, probably ended up discarding his wife because he was done with her and didn't have any more he needed to gain from her, and sent the kids to go live with the wife in England, made the excuse of like, oh, I want to raise my sons properly. Well, then why weren't your sons living with you? You know, they went to live with mother. What they literally moved to another continent to live with mother. So don't tell me it was about raising your sons properly, please.
And you don't want to be the only so you have to do it. And you have to die. Like, that doesn't make sense. Think about it logically. It doesn't make any sense logically, but it's something biological inside of all of us because we have this innate feeling of duty and honor, and that's where the courage comes from. And they're trying to destroy that along with everything else. But you're right. This is how men biologically are designed to be. And I was the same when I was young. I remember looking at my dad just going, you're a superhero and I want to be a superhero. That's just how it was. So, but yeah, my mother's fantastic and I love her very much. And she's very proud of me and she's very proud of how we were raised. And she's so glad we were strong. Like, even when we were in jail, she was very concerned, but she's like, look, I know that if anyone can do it, you can do it. And yeah, so.
Do you want to be married?
Good question.
I heard that's the lover boy tactic. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but.
Yeah. And that's an interesting question because younger me would say no, absolutely not. And the reason younger me would say no is because I'd come up with all the arguments that there's no legal advantage really, and the woman can wreck you, and you can lose all of your things, etc. What's the point? I don't want the government involved in my life, all those kind of arguments. But as I get older, maybe I'm getting a bit softer. Maybe I do think sometimes you need to make a decision based purely on love and have the faith of love and faith in your love enough to say, I don't care what the government's going to do about this because I truly believe in us and I think we're going to make it. So would I get married? Perhaps some point, yes, in the future I might get married. Yeah, I'm not against marriage like I used to be. I used to be super against it. And I think that's because I grew up in an environment where everybody was divorced. Everyone. So it's like, well, what's the point in this? Oh, wait, so I give her half my stuff and then what? I didn't understand the whole point of it. But now I think if I met the right woman, perhaps, yes.
Yeah, marriage is good.
Yeah,
if it's the
convert me. Candace.
Yeah, if it's the right person, if you marry the right person, and I'm saying this as someone who grew up with divorced parents, well, they got divorced after
I will bet all the money in my bank account that Candace Owens gets divorced someday. She's absolutely going to get divorced someday. When she is done bleeding her British aristocrat husband dry of every single resource that he has, then she's going to start devaluing him, and then she's going to divorce him to take any remaining money that he might have, and she's going to leave because narcissists cannot maintain long-term relationships. It might not happen right away. I'm not suggesting it's around the corner like with Harry and Meghan, but they're absolutely going to get divorced at some point.
Out of the house, but this speaks to your earlier point about it either impacts you one way or the other. You either want marriage because your parents are divorced, you don't want marriage. I desperately wanted marriage, and I think the ways in which we both have grown, and the confidence that it gives you. I think there is something about people are, how do you do what you every day? Because you cannot impact. My life is so stable. The nucleus of our household is so stable. And to be able to raise kids and have them see that example of the perfect yin and the yang, there's something divine about it. There's something spiritual about it. It's why I won't accept you. I think you are actually a libertarian right now, and I won't accept you as a libertarian. I think you will not be one. In a few years, if I had to make a prediction, I think you will lean towards conservatism, because even in just the crack of you talking about,
I think it's really great for Candace Owens to admit that both I misgendered Candace Owens. I think it's really great for Candace Owens to admit that both she and Andrew Tate are authoritarians, because the opposite of libertarian is authoritarian. And I just think it's really important for all of us to be on the same page that Candace Owens is an authoritarian. Candace Owens is no different than the left. The left is authoritarian. There are authoritarians on the right. Candace Owens is an authoritarian.
The attack on masculinity, because first you say, oh, well, if everyone wants to do what they want to do, if you guys all agree and you want to be homosexuals, fine. But then we'll start to realize that that libertarianism, live and let live, is what welcomes in through the door. I'm, very against every ill that homosexuality has brought.
Yep.
And again,
Oh.
these are consenting people.
Yep.
Candace Owens openly hating the gays. Openly hating the gays. Not even hiding it anymore. God damn it. These fucking people. These fucking people. Does Candace Owens still have a good relationship with Dave Rubin nowadays? How's that all going? God, Dave Rubin was so conned by these people. I would be very curious about what actually goes on in his head about all these people and how much they used him just to get people on their team, when every single conservative commentator now openly and perpetually hate gay people. It's sad. It really is. It's sad.
That are doing what they want to do.
This is true.
But look, evil is evil, sin is sin, and we're yesterday talking about homosexual marriage. Today we're talking about transing.
Well, it's such a slippery slope.
Yeah.
This is the thing, right? You're completely right, because the idea of live and let live was a fantastic one if it could actually operate without slippery slopes and it descending into chaos and anarchy, and it can't. So this is the difficult thing about it. You get called a bigot for saying this is my line, I don't agree with this, and you're going to be called bigoted and you're going to be attacked. But truthfully, it's just understanding that, like you're saying, it's a slippery slope. And it's unfortunate.
So what is the slope that we want then? Okay, then we should aspire towards heterosexual relationships. We should aspire towards marriage. We should, and this is the mold that I am selling all the time. Wouldn't have said this 10 years ago.
I wonder how much Brandon Strauch is freaking out with the walkaway movement. Because Brandon's whole, maybe I strongly suspect that Brandon hasn't fully figured this out yet. And I say this as someone who was on tour with Brandon for like 6 fucking months in 2020. I mean, how is the walkaway movement? I mean, first of all, the walkaway movement doesn't even do anything anymore, really. But like, how is he going to position the walkaway movement in terms of like, he wants to do specific gay outreach to make gay people become conservatives, when every major conservative influencer, maybe not everyone, but like a lot of them, are now openly hating gay people? Autumn, how can you not know he's gay? He is extremely gay. Extremely gay. But now that it's like the entire grift that was his whole thing about, conservatives, they don't really hate gay people. Yes, they do. They always did. And they fooled all of us for a little while anyway.
Probably more libertarian when I first got into politics, and what's the big deal if people want to do this to themselves? And then I realized, no, there is a reason.
No, and you're completely right. And the reason I gave that example is because I'm currently in a legal jeopardy or a legal situation where people who have nothing to do with my life are trying to say that people were victims when they weren't, when everyone was consenting. And you're right. I agree with you there. I also think with the whole LGBT argument, it's interesting because I will be honest and say I do think there is a difference between G and T. I think they are different things.
Of course.
I think they're massively different things. However, you're right. It's a shame.
Oh, now we have to have a conversation about how conservatives say, we're not saying we hate gay people. We just disapprove of every part of their lifestyle. You know what, Christians? I'm not saying I hate Christians. I just disapprove of every single part of the Christian lifestyle. And I will encourage you all to explore outside of the Christian lifestyle. And I want to enact legislation that bans the Christian lifestyle and the Christian faith from the United States, because I just, I don't hate you. I don't hate you, Christians. I just hate everything that you believe and everything that you stand for and every single value that you hold. And I think that the Christian lifestyle is just too detrimental for anyone to be involved in. I mean, really, you're indoctrinating the children into your Christian lifestyle and your Christian belief system. I think that that's really bad. I think that you probably need to let children grow up and figure out what type of relationship that they want to have with God. But instead, You Christians just try to indoctrinate children when they're young into your belief system so that they never know anything differently. I think it's really detrimental. And quite frankly, I think the Christian lifestyle is very abusive because it gives people funny ideas about how the world works that aren't actually hinged into reality at all. So I don't hate Christians, though. I don't hate them. I just think that everything about them is wrong and ill-considered, and we should probably legislate against them existing in the United States. But I didn't say hate. I don't hate you. Hate the sin, not the sinner. Well, I appreciate that at least.
It's such a slippery slope where you can't just say to people live and let live, because it's going to be hijacked and Trojan horsed, and they're going to Trojan horse it, and they're going to inject something in it that destroys the lives of every single person on the planet, and they're going to try and do it. So you have to draw a hard line. You have to be a bigot. You have to never give an inch, because if you give an inch, they take 10 miles.
That's more than 10 miles. Look at where we're at. I mean,
more hateful things on YouTube, and I can't see on YouTube because you'll put this and he still thinks about the gays on YouTube.
None of it makes any sense. But these are real evils that we're fighting today. And I think it's because we haven't put those firm lines in the sand and said, no, actually, there is such a thing as right and wrong.
Oh, well, this is the thing I love about, and this is where religion comes in, right? Because I used to be an atheist.
Mm-hmm.
And then exactly what you just said about there's something divine about marriage, and exactly what you said, there's such a thing as sin. Everything you're talking about is religious. You're completely correct. You eventually, if you're going to wake up and be the kind of person who has hard parameters and said, this is right, this is wrong, it's very difficult to do that without then turning and understanding that has to come from God. Who else is going to decide what is right and what is wrong? And people say, oh, well, they're all man-made religions. Well, then why does it go against so many of the wills of man? Some of the sins that man want to go and do, the religions are against. If we made a religion wouldn't be against our own sins, would it?
Right.
So it's interesting that this is almost proof for God in so many ways, when you're going to wake up and realize that there is genuine evil in the world and there's genuine good in the world, and there are two sides and two camps. And I do believe that the good is on the side of truth, and I do believe that comes from God. And there's many different ways to God. I think there is one God and there's different religions, and I don't want to argue the differences between the religions, because I think we have a lot more in common than we have, especially in the fight against evil, than we have as differences. But yeah, it's super interesting. And you're right. Firm lines are absolutely not really required. And if we don't have them, it's why society ends up in the position it's in, with so many subjective lines and your truth, my truth, the truth. And you're completely correct. It's not very often I sit with somebody who I feel like says something and I feel corrected, but you're right. Live and let live is hijacked. Yeah. It's hijacked. And it's unfortunate that,
you know, Yasmin, it's funny, like back in the day when I first went viral on the internet, Destiny wanted to debate me. And I said, I don't debate, but I'll talk to you. And it was scheduled and it was supposed to happen. And then he just ghosted. And so I was up. I still to this day don't know anything about Destiny. I didn't know anything about him then. I don't really know anything about him now. But at some point he did know that I existed and wanted to talk to me. And that flew out the window very quickly, which is fine, like probably for the best. But no, I mean, I'm not going to probably spend like time on it or anything, but it would have, I think. But, you know, in some respects, it's like, it's probably better that conversation didn't happen, because 2020 was a confusing time for me. I've grown a lot since then. I have found myself since then. I see things very differently now than I did in 2020. Some things the same, something still not like liking the Democrats, but
me as a person now, especially, and maybe this is more of a personal thing. Maybe this is more of a personality trait, where I'm in the position I'm in. I'm saying what I believe is the truth, and I'm out here trying to help people, and I'm saying about the difficulties I went through in my life so others don't have to go through them, just as you said. But if somebody doesn't want to listen to me, I'm like, okay, you don't want to listen to me. I don't care. You do what you want. But that live and let live mind frame can be hijacked, because when I'm saying to people, okay, don't do what I want, or don't do what I believe to be good, don't do what God believes to be good, do what you want, I don't care. And then they get in a large enough group and they end up attacking morality.
It redefines, normalcy. It redefines morality. And, I recently was sitting down having a conversation with a friend of mine, Brandon, and when I first got into politics, I wasn't so staunchly against homosexual marriage. I didn't speak out on certain things, abortion. And then I saw it firsthand. I just examined just the differences in my relationships with heterosexual couples and homosexual couples. And homosexual couples, I'm talking about two men. You don't realize that God designed a man to be with a woman because it prevents men from giving entirely into the worst components of who men are. Just having sex
Women are
all the
gatekeepers.
time.
Yeah, women are
Right? You can't do that. If you're with a woman,
Are you shitting me? Are you shitting me? Men can't have a relationship with each other without giving into their entire like all of their worst impulses, and that's all they do is give in to their worst impulses at all times? Are you kidding me? Again, man, like oh man, he would never talk about this publicly, and I know this much, but I would give all the money in my fucking bank account to know the truth about what Dave Rubin thinks about all this now. I really would. Candace Owens has just come out and said Dave Rubin's relationship is completely false because it's only giving in to all of his worst impulses at all times. And he used to consider her a friend. I don't know if he still does. But like, I can't even with this. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it's menstruation, maybe it's pregnancy, maybe it's afterbirth, but there are these natural barriers that make it so that your relationship has to be about something else.
No, I just want to say, so shout out to Taten. There we go. I think I pronounced it Taten. Okay. By the way, I found your channel from Socialism Saturday. I listened to it all day at work. I paint walls for a living, so I have all the time in the world to figure out socialism. Well, welcome. I apologize. Our first super chat encounter was me yelling about Christians, but I think we are actually on the same team, and I'm glad you're here. We should ask Joshua that. How does someone remind me tonight? I want to ask Joshua, how does Dave Rubin feel about Candace Owens today? Yes, because no straight man treats his wife as a sex object. It would never, especially not Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate would never treat women as sex objects, remember.
Than just sex. Yep. When I'm with my homosexual friends, they talk about sex. I don't think they realize that heterosexual couples don't just sit down for lunch and be like, we banged 20 times last night because we could.
Are you shitting me? Okay. I have been to, when Dave still lived in California, I went to multiple gatherings at Dave Rubin's house with Dave Rubin and his husband and lots of other people, some of whom were actually gay. There was never any talk of that. Are you shitting me? Even just taking Dave Rubin outside of it for a second, you're telling me that you cannot hang around with gay male couples without them talking about how much they're fucking? As someone who attracts gay men like moths to a flame, I'm pretty sure at least 50% of the men who watch my channel are gay. I assure you, they are Candace, gay men are perfectly capable of having conversations that don't actually reference sex. I promise you, they do it all the time. They can talk about clothes. They can talk about travel. They can talk about culture. They can talk about movies. They can talk about any number of topics that don't have to do with fucking Candace.
They think that that's normal.
Sure.
So then you talk about how that bleeds into pornography, that bleeds into wanting to talk about sexuality in the classroom, how that might bleed in to suddenly wanting to speak to children about sex and go, oh, this is all normal. It's actually not normal, but because it's normal in a homosexual relationship, you think that it's actually normal.
Totally right.
And so I have suddenly realized and this is why I become so staunchly conservative, how it all bleeds into everything. And there is such a thing as objective rightness, and there is such a thing as objective wrongness.
Completely correct. And I agree with absolutely everything you just said. So my question would be then, what do we do? Do we force everybody to be Christians or force everybody to be religious, or how do we do it?
Well, I think the first thing is having the courage to talk about it. And nobody even talks about these topics anymore because they just go, oh, they've won. So we need to let this go. And more you're seeing.
I'm going to put a poll in the chat. There's a poll in the chat on YouTube only. Sorry, anyone watching on any other platform. Do you believe that Candace Owens' husband is secretly gay? Yes, no. The reason I am asking my audience to assess if Candace Owens' husband is, really gay is not just that he's a British aristocrat. It's that Candace seems to be projecting a lot of, feelings onto gay men that are just provably not true based on anyone hanging out with gay men like ever. And I have to believe that those feelings come from somewhere. And I suspect that some of those feelings probably come from the fact that Candace Owens knows she married a gay man. He probably fucks around on her all the time. She's probably really pissed about that. Maybe she didn't even know he was gay when they first got married because maybe he's bisexual or something and he fooled her, but he really fucks around and probably fucks a lot of men. And Candace Owens has a lot of feelings about that because, but she can't divorce him because he's a British aristocrat and probably has a lot of resources that Candace Owens is taking advantage of. So Candace Owens has to pretend that they have this perfect family life where everything is just great. And he's hunting. He hunts because he's a man's man. He definitely doesn't take it in the ass. He is a man's man. Definitely not gay. Let me know what you think in the poll.
Culturally, people are afraid of being canceled. I mean, what I just said to you is grounds for a cancellation. How dare you question this? How dare you? I even believe now, after seeing the ways in which society has made children believe that they're all trans. I went to university. I went to high school. I didn't graduate with a single trans person. Now you want me to believe 1 in 4 children suffers from identity issues? Yeah. No, that's socialization. Completely. You place that on them. So is it such a far stretch to imagine that the same happened in the when homosexuality came to America, and then we popularized it and we put Ellen on TV and we gave Melissa Etheridge a platform, and suddenly pride parades were happening everywhere. Whereas you don't see this here. You don't see this here in Romania where we're sitting, because we haven't. This is the power of culture. This is the power of pop culture. When you make something, you have to go the other way.
Bot asks, were conservative influencers like this 2 years ago? No. At least I don't remember them being like this. Not the ones that I was around and not the ones that I was listening to when I was red pilling. Like, okay, so 2 years ago would have been 2021. They had started to get more gay hatey after Trump left office. During 2020, though, conservative influencers and Republicans, and because this is the frame of reference that I have, like that's when I first experienced the political right, was in 2020. Like all year long, I was like embedded with them. They were all like, we love the gays, we love the gays, Trump loves the gays, we don't care if people are gay anymore, we love, like they were not like this in 2020. And then it was like almost immediately upon Trump leaving office, there started to be a conversation about like, should we allow gay people in the MAGA movement? So they started in on the gay hating bullshit like really early on, and it has only ramped up since then. And it's just like, it's really gross and it's really sad. Like as someone who, I lived through the 90s, I remember how much conservative Christian moral majority gay hating bullshit happened in the 90s. And here we are. Joey, queer means Marxism. I can see what you mean, but it also means non-standard. Joey, it means non-standard because the goal of queer theory is fundamentally to destabilize the system. Queer theory comes from like Frankfurt School. It comes from Marxism. So the origin of queer is quite literally Marxism. It is not the same as LGBT. LGBT upholds the gender binary. LGBT is about identity. Queer is a far left political ideology. When you are identifying as queer, you are identifying it with a far left political ideology, which is Marxism. You may not know it is that, but that is where all the language comes from. That is where the propaganda comes from. That's where it all comes from.
You need to normalize it. You need to say, actually, this is abnormal.
Absolutely.
And this is what normal is. And it's not both. So yeah, I've become very conservative in all of these perspectives.
And you're completely correct. You nailed it. When I said, do we force everyone to be Christian? You nailed it by changing to the exact thing I was going to say. It's about culture. It's a cultural issue. And it's completely and utterly correct. And I think that's actually one of the reasons why. I mean, I don't state this with arrogance. I don't want people to understand. I'm not trying to be arrogant. I'm trying to make people understand the situation I'm in. I was the most Googled man on the planet at one point. So I had a massive impact on the culture, and it was dragging in the complete opposite direction that the culture wants to move in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm dragging men in the complete opposite direction that the Satanists and the people who want to turn us all into slaves want us to go in. So I think that anybody who sits at home and realizes that my legal troubles appearing basically directly after that is a coincidence, then you're awfully naive. So it's unfortunate also that the way the world works, at a certain level of influence and power, the justice system almost breaks down. We see that even in America and most other countries, it all just becomes a big game and a big show, and it's about power plays and a whole bunch of conversations behind the scenes. It's not about justice anymore. So it's very
Nope. So Tayden, so no, this is not correct. And I've written about this on my Substack, which is Carlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. Yes, I've seen some people saying on the LGB side that they would like to remove the TQ. What are your thoughts on this? I think I understand, but I'm not sure. No, the T cannot be removed. Do not remove the T. This is because people are confused because the queer Marxist movement has hijacked the LGBT movement, and they are conflating queer and trans. Queer and trans are not the same thing. You don't need to be gay to declare yourself queer. You don't need to be trans to declare yourself queer. Many gay and trans people want nothing to do with the term queer. The distinction that we need to make, and I'm going to write about this explicitly on my Substack because I haven't addressed it this specifically, is that LGBT and T uphold the gender binary. They say there are men and there are women, and you can and it's not a problem for trans to transition from men to woman or woman to men. Now, I don't believe in medicalization of children, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about adults making decisions about their bodies and how they want to live. Okay, we're not talking about kids right now. I don't want to hear any fucking groomer shit in the chat. But men transitioning to women or women transitioning to men still upholds the gender binary. And that's what really matters, because the goal of queer theory or queer Marxism is to abolish the gender binary. It's to liberate people from the gender binary. And this is one of the things that they're doing to push towards abolish the biological family, which we talk about all the time on Socialism Saturday. That eliminating the gender binary is one of the steps that it's actually a really critical step that they need to take to eliminate the biological family, which are the nuclear family, which is a goal that has been stated in the Communist Manifesto. So the LGBT needs to stay together. The Q is what is the problem. The Q is what needs to be separated. And people really need to start seeing the difference between the two, because part of the problem is that people are not looking at this in a nuanced way, and they're not realizing that the Q latched itself onto something that it has nothing to do with. LGBT and T are identities that uphold the gender binary. Q is a far left political ideology that seeks to abolish the gender binary for the explicit purpose of destabilizing the system, attacking capitalism, so they can usher in their Marxist cultural revolution. I hope that's helpful to everyone. Thank you.
very concerning, because you are right. We are in a culture war. And it's culture which is absolutely not really defining the direction in which we move. And this is one of the reasons why I reverted to Islam, because I feel like the Islamic culture is the strongest. You feel the culture.
I was wondering, because you were Christian, and I definitely do not know enough about the Islamic faith to sit here and debate you on it. Yeah. I'm never a person that will debate somebody on something that I'm not an expertise on.
Yeah.
But I will say that I'm sad that you're not a Christian anymore, because I can sense Perhaps it's because you felt that Christians weren't doing a good job defending their beliefs.
Yeah, I think that God should be feared. I believe that God should be feared. I fear God. It's one of the only things I fear. And I believe that also you see God to a degree, or you see religion, how you see yourself. And I see myself as a person of strong principles and strong morals. And I like to think of myself as the kind of person nobody really wants to cross, not because I'm a psycho, but because I'm a man of capability and I'm smart and I'm strong and nobody wants to make an enemy of me.
Self-awareness.
So I feel like,
by the way, it seems as though 59% of the people in my chat do believe that Candace Owens' husband is secretly gay. Thank you.
I find an affinity to a belief system which has very similar outlooks. And there's a whole bunch of other things I can say from the Quran and Islamic texts, etc. But to keep it very vague and very broad for people who are not Islamic, I felt God when I was in an Islamic country. If I went to an Islamic country,
that's the problem.
I felt.
Hang on. Illustration Station is asking a great question that has nothing to do with what's being said on screen, but has to do with what I just said about keeping queer separate from the LGBT. How do we break this down to normies without freaking them out? Well, that's a good question. The definition of Q, I feel like it will be overwhelming to anyone not following your channel. So I try to do this bit by bit on my Substack, and I do actually have free resources on my Substack where, like, look, there's an article on my Substack where about them queering Abraham Lincoln. And that'll be a great resource because in that article where they literally made a whole show where they tried to say Abraham Lincoln was queer, not gay, which there is an argument to be made for the fact that Abraham Lincoln might have slept with men. That's actually real. But saying he's queer is not the same as saying he's gay, right? They're using queer, and they specifically defined it in the show to say that it was a tactic designed to destabilize the system or to push back against societal norms. And so I think it's about, like, first of all, the first answer to this is that we ourselves have to understand it, okay? And you guys got to understand, we are at the tip of the spear of people who understand this. There are very few people that actually understand it in the way that we do. Like very, 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 very few. And so we need to be the ones, and this is hard and this is frustrating, to start breaking it down as much as we can and just bit by bit explaining it to people and always being there. Anytime you hear someone talking about, like, we need to separate the T from the LGB, no, that is incorrect. That is not only incorrect, it's also detrimental. And we need to be there to explain, no, it's not about the T, it's about the Q, and here's why. And just very calmly and rationally, and I know I'm not necessarily the queen of calm, rational conversation, all right? But on this topic, there's a time and a place for everything. There's a time and a place for yelling on the internet. There is also a time and a place for calm, rational conversation to say the queer is the thing that is fundamentally different here. It's not the LGBT, it's the Q, and here's why that is. And you just need to keep putting it out there over and over and over and over and over again. And people might think you're crazy, and they probably will, because no one is talking about it like this except I think I'm like the only person talking about it like this. If there's anyone else, please let me know. I honestly mean that, but I'm pretty sure I'm one of the only people talking about it like this. So we need to be the ones to explain it. We are at the tip of the spear. There are very few people who understand it like this. And the role that we all play, and I mean every single one of you in the chat, is that we need to be the ones spreading this message and making sure as many people as possible understand. Because this is actually really effing important. If the gender binary falls, we're fucked. Like, game over, ball game over. Everything else falls after that. And so making sure people understand it is actually really, really important.
God, you don't feel any God. How is it a Christian country if Satanists are mocking Jesus on the streets?
I understand what you're saying. And I was trying to gather in my head what pulled him away from Christianity. And I said it's probably the example.
That's actually good, because I didn't think James Lindsay was saying this. And so to hear that he's saying this is actually makes me feel really good, because I've heard him say different things and I didn't know he had shifted his messaging. So that makes me feel good. I appreciate it.
example, if you're thinking that America is a Christian country and you're thinking that the United Kingdom is a Christian country,
They're not.
and you're going, Christianity is getting it wrong.
Yeah.
And the truth is that America is no longer a Christian country. We're being run by
Good.
people that are
We
satanic.
shouldn't be.
Hollywood is satanic, and
Right.
Hollywood is running America.
Right.
So you're not wrong. But I think that right now America is facing a spiritual battle. And for the first time in a very long time, Christians are starting to stand up and speak about our principles.
I hope so. And
we
I
could have used you as a star.
I know,
Christian.
but I have seen in California, I've seen Christians.
You know, sometimes, and don't get me wrong, I think James Lindsay is incredible. I wrote a whole fucking chapter in my book about James Lindsay. I revere what that man does. What he does is incomparable. And I don't say that because I agree with him on everything, because I don't. But sometimes I feel like James Lindsay is like listening to me and taking talking points that I'm putting out there before him. Because, and I say this because the first time he did this was in regards to the corruption of the teaching pool, because I was screaming about the teaching pool is corrupted. It's the teaching pool. School choice is not going to fix this. It's the teaching pool. Here's how. I was screaming about that for 2 effing years before James Lindsay ever said anything about it. And then someone went on Tim Pool's show and said, oh, it's the corruption of the teaching pool. And I was actually really excited about that. And I was like, holy shit, other people are talking about this. And so I messaged that person and I said, thank you so much for talking about the corruption of the teaching pool. And he said, no problem, but I got it from James Lindsay. And I was like, really? Really? Because I was screaming about that for literally years before James Lindsay ever said anything to that effect. And I feel like the queer thing is the same, because I definitely saw James Lindsay say, like, the LGB needs to separate from the T, and he was really on about that for a while. And now all of a sudden, I'm not upset about it. Believe me, I'm not upset. But like, I'm pretty sure that I said it was the Q before James Lindsay did. Fact check me. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure that came from me first. And sometimes I would just like a little credit, okay?
Christians and Muslims get side by side when they were complaining about the LGBT
I did
teachings
see
in
that
schools, which
recently.
is fantastic. And I know what you're saying, and that is true, but it's almost like when I go to an Islamic country, I feel God around. You see it. You see it in the way the people are dressed. You see it in the fact that everyone's in a family. You see it in the fact that there's a mosque on every corner.
Sorry, this is the last thing I'm going to say about this. I'm not upset that he's using my talking points. I'm not upset about it at all, because it's about teaching people what's going on. I do wish he would share more of my shit. That would, if he's going to steal my talking points without crediting me for them, which is fine, maybe he could just, share news stories that I put out that I'm the only one talking about every once in a while. That would be pretty great. I don't know.
It's in the air. And it's almost like when I'm in Dubai and I'm talking to my friends, my Islamic friends, and I explain to them the things you have to protect your child from in an American school. They literally think I'm lying. They're like, no, surely. Like, it's mind-bending to them.
What about African countries that are Christian?
Okay, so yeah, this is interesting. So
yeah, they still are mind blown by the concept of what we're fighting in America. So America is unique. We shouldn't say that this is the
right.
blanket.
You're right. They're right. There are Christian countries which still take Christianity.
And they're like, what do you mean men can be women? Like, they think you're crazy.
And we're in Romania. And Romania is a country which is
Christian.
very conservative and very Christian.
Very Christian.
And they don't buy into any of this garbage.
None of it.
So this is
Thank
absolutely not really true. It's unfair to say all Christian countries are like that.
America is an exception, and not in a good way.
Yeah, I think like the whole West is, unfortunately.
The West is. I've said on my show the entire time. The West is falling. The fact that we're even having these debates is not good.
Yeah, the West has fallen, and unfortunately,
Russia, Christian country.
Yeah, absolutely, a very Christian country. So yeah, you are right, but I felt an affinity to Islam. I felt God in the air, and it's difficult for me to explain any other way.
Okay, that's fair enough. I won't push you any further on that. All right, let's get to your case that's happening today. So, and why conservatives are screaming about it in America, and why they feel that Tucker didn't push you enough on this case.
Push me.
Yes.
Okay. So first and foremost, one thing I want to clarify for people that are watching this is that there seems to be this understanding that you are being prosecuted, or you're being indicted rather, for human sex trafficking charges. I've read the indictment, and I do want to make it clear the words human sex trafficking occur on the indictment, but then it makes it very clear that what they're referring to is they've kind of extended the term. It's not what we think
by falsely inducing her about the intention to establish a family and marriage relationship and the existence of false feelings. The aim of sexually exploiting her and then forcing her to engage in pornographic activities. This is in line, guys. I had to learn about this with the whole Eliza Blue bullshit. What is in this indictment is in line with how experts in human trafficking discuss human trafficking. What it is not in line with is how conservative influencers think of human trafficking. So it's actually Candace Owens and her ignorance and her lack of educating herself by listening to experts in human trafficking discuss what they do all day, every day. Candace Owens is getting this wrong because I can look at this for 2 seconds and to know that this is how experts in human trafficking talk about it, but that's inconvenient for the argument that Candace Owens is about to make. She's like, Andrew, they're not even giving you this isn't even the proper definition of human trafficking. I'm sorry. Has Candace Owens ever talked to experts in this, or is she just literally making shit up because it's convenient for her argument? It's a textbook. Oh, it's a textbook case. The majority of human sex trafficking uses the lover boy method.
Think about in America when you think of a bunch of children being put into a truck and taken over the border against their will. They're basically saying that if you trick a truck and taken over the border against their will, they're basically saying that.
So you know how all so where the fuck was it? That's not it. Hang on.
When you think of a bunch of children being put in.
So Candace Owens earlier in the interview said, Andrew, I have read the charges against you, and Andrew, they don't say anything. They are only about TikTok, Andrew. Huh. And Tucker Carlson did the same thing. Well, Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens have been like, Andrew, in the papers that are charging you, it only talks about TikTok. You didn't do anything bad on TikTok, did you, Andrew? But look at what she's showing on the screen. Using the website OnlyFans. It says OnlyFans before it says TikTok. OnlyFans. But Candace Owens swears this isn't about OnlyFans. This is only about TikTok. Tucker Carlson swears this is not about OnlyFans. It's just about TikTok. This is just silly to think that any of this was happening on TikTok except that it says OnlyFans right there.
Into a truck and taken over the border against their will. They're basically saying that if you trick a woman into coming into a country by using the lover boy method, then they consider that to be human sex trafficking. So the definition has definitely expanded over time.
Well, it's also ridiculously misogynistic to believe that women can't make their own decisions on anything. So the whole thing about it is misogynistic. But yeah, you're correct. That's a very important distinction.
Essentially what they're saying is we have a show in America called 90 Day Fiancé. That is the lover boy method, is women that then go over to the US. They're clearly coming for citizenship, but these women kind of get duped and they sponsor these people. This would be the same vein of what they're trying to describe. I've read it myself of what human sex trafficking can be, which is a woman fell for you, fell in love, moved over here overseas, but it's only because you were very convincing. That is the definition given in the indictment of what they're referring to.
Correct. So I'll give a very quick rundown on the case. Everything from these old videos, old clips, my webcam company, things that happened 10.
This is so fucking gross. I'm already starting to feel sick because this is Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson and anyone else defending this asshole are literally apologists for real human trafficking. They're apologists for it. They're looking at information that's right in front of them and they're saying, this doesn't say what it says. It's nauseous. It's like, I am feeling nauseous about this. And at the same time, they're going to go, sound of freedom, the sound of freedom, the sound of freedom, the sound of freedom. Save the children, save the children, save the children, save the children. They don't give a fuck about this, guys. They only care about what they need to do for clicks. I really hope you guys see this.
10 years ago, I have absolutely nothing to do with the criminal case. Absolutely zero. Anything you see from before 2021 has nothing to do with the case. The case against me is that from 2021, my brother and I, when we were already worth hundreds of millions of dollars and already
How'd you
successful and
make your
famous,
money?
created an organized criminal group. And our intention was to convince women to move to Romania to make TikTok videos so we could steal the TikTok money.
And
It was just about TikTok. It was only TikTok, not OnlyFans at all. It was only about TikTok, even though we all just saw OnlyFans on the fucking documents.
and they mention OnlyFans
Correct.
on
Oh,
the
she got
indictment
that right,
page.
at least.
And they say that you did this using the lover boy method.
Yep.
And it almost reads, what's interesting to me and why I was compelled by this case is just that because they tremendously changed it. When they were investigating you, we were told that there was a woman who went to the UN who escaped
Yep.
your grip, and that, you know, she said, I've been held captive.
Yep.
And then after they investigated, they came up with what it sounded like regurgitated Andrew Tate videos.
Yep.
The lover boy method, which is in one of your videos where you're talking about women. So it seems like during that time where they held you in the cell, perhaps the initial case that they fed to the media fell apart.
Yeah, I believe what happened, and I have to be very careful what I say, but what I believe happened is in April of last year, Tristan and I had some visitors here from America who were only in the country for 5 days, made some very strange demands financially. When they were rejected, they called the American embassy and said they had been kidnapped. Those two women, we deem now to be professionals. One of them has accused 7 men of kidnapping.
This doesn't have anything to do with Andrew Tate. 2 Ladies Midwest Adventures is cheating on me with Lydia. But I need you to call out 2 Ladies Midwest Adventures who is currently cheating on me in Lydia's chat. I see it. I'm not going to forget about this. Tell 2 Ladies Midwest Adventures that I see them cheating on me, bot, and I'm not happy about it.
Thing in her life. And she's also lawyered up instantly from a left-wing NGO because she's currently being sued by us for false charges. And she seemed to be very well supported and funded. So I don't know if she was sent as an agent. We're not entirely sure. So this is a very interesting beginning to all of this in April. The Romanian authorities arrested us for precisely 2 hours and threw it out and knew it was all garbage from the beginning. The case remained open. Nobody understood why the case remained open. My lawyer made repeated requests to close the case. They wouldn't close the case, and it remained open and absolutely and utterly dormant. When I was canceled, when I was deleted across all social media and canceled and lost my bank accounts, my Uber account, my Stripe account, my Gmail, absolutely everything. Literally within the same week, the case was picked back up, which is very strange. I was followed. They tried to find evidence of any kind of crime at all. They couldn't find any crimes whatsoever. They then raided my house for a second time with the intent of getting my electronics, which they got. They went through all of my electronics and they could find nothing of actual criminal intent. What they did find is my brother and I and our personal assistant, because at the time, if anyone who knows on the internet or has been around for a while will remember, my face was all over TikTok. You could not get rid of my face on TikTok. Me and my brother were explaining our strategy for how we got so big on TikTok to some friends of ours. They then said that we were forcing them to do the TikToks for our money, for our brand. They made this huge reach and said it's human trafficking because we're forcing women to make TikTok videos.
Yeah, so that's the part that registered to me as strange. It started as a kid. We were told it was kidnapping, which is it's very serious, that somebody fled to the U.S. Embassy. This is the woman that you're talking about that you say you're alleging has also accused 7 other men.
Alleging, it's literally now on Twitter. You can see the complaint we filed against her. 7 men she is accused of kidnapping. She's done it with 7 different boyfriends who didn't buy her what she wanted. One of them killed himself.
Okay, wow.
I strongly doubt
So
she's a professional.
Okay, so it's very strange that she comes over,
doubt
she
all of
accuses
that.
you of kidnapping her, but then they decide not to prosecute that, but they fed that to the media that you kidnapped someone, that she fled to the U.S. Embassy.
Yep.
Then all of a sudden we learn that they're investigating you, and the charges then go from kidnapping to, well, actually what he was doing is a lover boy method, which we're saying is human sex trafficking,
Yep.
and that these women didn't know what they were getting into. They thought that he was going to marry them.
Yep.
And actually what he wanted them to do was just to make TikTok and OnlyFans videos.
Yeah. So the lover boy method, traditionally, the way it would.
Which Andrew Tate literally admitted what he does on video and had a whole pimp and hose degree program where he taught other men to do the same thing. I'm sorry. He admitted it on video.
traditionally worked, the reason it was criminalized and added to the criminal code is that I would be a Romanian man and I would meet a Romanian girl. We would get married. Marriage is part of it. I'm not married to anybody. We'd get married. We'd move to a richer country. You go from a poor country to a rich country, let's say America. You put the girl into sexual work, let's say prostitution, and then I'll keep all the money and I'll control her or coerce her by pretending to love her. That's what they're saying. That's how it traditionally works. They've accused me of using the lover boy method because basically I was a nice person. I was nice. That's the thing that most people don't understand about the law.
I was so nice that I fucked these poor girls over and over and over again as many times as I need to before they were like good and warmed up to me. And then I gave them a lot of alcohol and I said, baby, 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 why don't you do webcams, baby? Why don't you, we're going to be able to spend so much time together if you do webcams for me and I'll, you know, and can you talk to my bottom bitch about this? Cause she's going to convince you that doing webcams is really the best way to spend time with me. And it's the best way to win my love. And here, baby, I'm going to buy you all this alcohol, baby. And it's going to be great. We're going to spend so much time together because you're going to do these webcams for me, baby. He was a really nice guy. Yeah, really nice.
Law is so ridiculously subjective. If they want to weaponize it and use it to attack you, that's exactly what they'll do. They can accuse any man of using the lover boy method if you send nice messages on a text message. If you're like, hey, baby, how are you?
See?
So did you did you promise to marry these women?
No, I didn't promise to marry anybody. What I had was girls, the two girls who were in the criminal file, asked me how to be famous on TikTok. I told them how to be famous on TikTok, and I spoke to them nicely the entire time. These two women have come out and made videos repeatedly saying we're not victims of anything. I don't know if you've seen them.
No. Okay, so just to back this up.
The victims
in the indictment,
correct,
have made videos saying we're not victims.
Correct.
I did not know that.
It's there. It's all over Twitter. In fact, on I think it's my pinned tweet, you can see the criminal case against Andrew Tate. The two victims who the DCAR are accusing me of using the Loverboy method on have made videos saying he just told us how to do social media. We're not victims.
I've never seen any of them being aggressive or rude. They've always respected people.
Ai fost amenințată?
Nu, n-am fost niciodată. Dacă eram amenințată, automat nu mai eram idiotă să stau în casa asta. Suntem prieteni buni de 2 ani de zile, cam așa. Poți să mă treci pe mine ca și victimă.
I'm sorry, these two look like they're in a fucking hostage video. Is anyone else getting this? They look like they're in a hostage video.
Eu n-am spus că sunt o victimă.
They gave this statement to the police. The police ignored it and said they're brainwashed. So they ignore it. So now we have a criminal case where we have girls who are saying they're not victims of anything. Me telling girls how to make money on TikTok, or not even how to make money, because no one makes money on TikTok, telling them how to get famous on TikTok, and them saying that I forced them for money, which doesn't exist. There's no money in the criminal file. There's no transactions. There's no financials, nothing. The girls themselves have given statements in my defense. They're being thrown away so they can continue with this case saying that I've brainwashed the women. So now we have, imagine in court, my brother and I, and the two victims, all on the same side.
Thank you, bot.
Saying nobody's done anything wrong. We're all friends. We were talking about TikTok accounts. And then you have the state with no witnesses on its own saying you're victims and you're bad and you're going to jail.
So it seems like what they're doing then is this is where the content from 10 years ago is coming into play, where they're saying, well, look, they're conflating this now. So even though these charges are from, and I read the indictment again, 2021, look at what he said 10 years ago, which somehow confirms what we're saying. We don't have to listen to these women. On August 22nd, BRICS nations, that's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are expected.
Why do these have so many ads? Are they playing the actual video?
Out the lover boy method. So we'll take a look at that right now.
Sure. You cannot get a girl to work for you having fun. So the recruitment process is the same as the PhD course. You message them on Instagram. The PhD course is my recruitment system. I don't mention webcam until after I've had sex with the girl. If you're on dates and you're trying to mention it and shit, it just doesn't work. It puts them off. I'd never do that. That's disgusting. I'm not a whore. It's just not gonna work. You continue as normal, no mention of webcam. You f the girl. After you f the girl, you do the PhD test. If she passes the PhD test and she wants to be with you, then you start mentioning things like, yeah, but you know, you're always busy. You're always at work. You can come work for me.
Okay, so first question, when was this video taken?
Yeah, so this video is from 10 years ago, and this is me explaining how having a webcam company, it's actually a larger video as a whole. I'm explaining how having a webcam company can affect your relationships and how it affects your dating life. It also explains the fact that one of the girls I was dating at the time was working on
Are you shitting me? I was simply explaining how having a webcam company affects your dating life. Oh my God.
webcam at the
Mhm.
time. And it's explaining my general overall, explains my life and how things are affected owning a pornography company, because obviously a lot of women will be put off by that. It doesn't explain, it doesn't say, I'd be very careful how I answer this question because I'm currently under an investigation, right?
Mhm.
So I'd be very careful how I
And
answer
by
it.
the way,
People are
why the fuck is Andrew Tate's lawyer letting him do these interviews? I mean, honestly, like, what Andrew Tate's lawyer should be telling Andrew Tate to do right now is shut the fuck up, because Andrew Tate is not smart. And Andrew Tate has already given away so much information in both the Tucker Carlson interview and even more information in this one, because he's pissed off in this one and he's under fight or flight and he's like feeling very defensive about his position and he's staring at his brother off in the corner like his brother is like an emotional support dog. Why didn't Andrew Tate's lawyer say, Andrew, shut the fuck up? Like, you need to stop talking, like, right effing now.
trying to chop it up and say that it says I am using the Loverboy method to somehow convince women to do things they didn't want to do. This is obviously not the case, and none of this is in the case file for a reason, because it doesn't exist and none of these women are upset. But this is simply me explaining. It's actually a dating course I made a long time ago, and I'm a little bit embarrassed about it, to be honest with you, because it was 10 years ago and I was talking about women and dating and things in a way that I wouldn't talk about them anymore.
Right. So yeah,
And
you look very young in the video.
I'm super young, and I'm talking about, hey, when you sleep with this girl or you meet that girl or you meet this girl on Instagram, and I have a webcam company. I don't
You
tell
was
them I have a
just
webcam company.
talking
And
about
I just think
dating.
all that's kind of crass and it's below me.
Yeah.
And I don't really
Okay.
like talking about it. And it's amazing how things change as you mature and you get older. But
Upload it.
once again, I was a much
Upload it.
younger man. I think
Nana, upload it. Please upload it. Let me know when you upload it. I will watch the whole fucking thing. Upload the course. Or send it to me and I'll upload it. I don't mind.
if you were to take any 24-year-old and look at the stuff he puts on the internet, some of it's going to be stupid. And I think if you look at anybody who made things 10 years ago, some of it's going to be stupid. It's absolutely not criminal in any regard. There's nothing criminal about it. It has no bearing or any interest in the current case. But yeah, I was talking about how I don't mention I have a webcam business. The basic premise of the video was me explaining that I don't mention I have a webcam business ever, and that I'm Mr. Rich and I have this nice car and I go on dates with girls. And sometimes when I say I have a webcam business, some of them want money and they want to work for me. That's the basic premise of it.
Right. I'm glad to hear that you're not proud of the video. And I think that that's one of those things where I say that people don't allow you to grow up from things that you've done or said in the past. And this is obviously when you were operating a webcam business, you're talking about.
And that's the whole thing about the human experience. We're supposed to grow, right? And we're supposed to make mistakes and we're supposed to learn from them and we're supposed to evolve as people. And I'm certainly not proud of the video. When I say I'm not sorry for what I've done, I don't mean it in a, I would do the same things again. I don't mean it that way. I mean that at the time I was a lot less knowledgeable and I was younger and I made some mistakes. And just like I'm sure Jay-Z would never sell crack again.
Right.
Exactly the same reason I would never make a stupid video saying something so stupid again. I also could have never predicted the fact that I was going to become one of the most famous people on the planet.
Right.
I didn't see that coming. And if I did, I would have been a lot more careful with what I said and how I said it. And I do think that it's part of every person's journey to make some mistakes and learn from them and grow from them. And I kind of find it interesting that if I was a reformed drug addict, there'd be no problem. If I was a reformed murderer, there'd be no problem. If I was a mafia boss and I'd sit here and I'd killed 3 people and we were doing an interview and I was like, yeah, I used to kill people. I've done my time. I'm out of jail now. That I get less flack than if I made a video talking about dating when I used to have a business that did webcam than I currently get, you know? So all I can do is understand that I was a younger man. I did the best I could at the time. And, I was trying my very best to survive in a very harsh world. And I understand now that a lot of the way I said things, I certainly shouldn't have said them that way, but none of it is criminal.
Right. And it, again, has no bearing on your case today, but I want
There's literally no bearing. And it's conflation.
It's being circulated without, people
one of
think
your
that
other
video was
accounts,
shot last week.
Correct. And that's what's so good, because it's good to mention that, because people are trying to conflate them. Because in the current case against me, there's no case.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody understands there's no case. We're now in a situation where if the legal system's completely fair, then the case is over. So what they're trying to do is they're going to conflate with old videos of mine and they're going to try and muddy the waters and gaslight. And I will say that I am unhappy those videos exist. And I will say I wish I never made them. but I won't say that I'm sorry, because at the time I did the best I knew how to do.
And I think that's important for the young
Awesome.
kids that are
Banana
following you,
champion.
especially the young men, to know. Like I say, I always hope that I talk about the mistakes that I made, and I probably wouldn't even categorize them as mistakes. It's just things that I did. And if I could go back, of course I wouldn't do it. Hindsight's 2020,
Yeah.
but it's important for them to hear that. I'm not proud of that. Obviously, I'm not proud of it.
And that's why I never pushed.
Autumn, what are you going to be doing in 5 minutes? You're going to be sitting here watching me like you always do. Just subscribe. Subscribe and wait the 5 minutes. It's going to fly by. It's going to be awesome. See, look at this. We have everyone's working together, even socialists and disaffected. I don't even know what bot is. Bot, do you have a political identity anymore? Socialists and disaffected anti-communists can work together too.
Them to the world, and that's why I never propagate them in any way. Unfortunately, there's a weaponized attack against me where they still exist, and that's why I do so good to talk against them. I think that if you want to tell kids not to do drugs, you usually have a reformed drug addict to stand up and say, don't do drugs, I was a drug addict, it was a mistake. And I think that gives you a degree of credibility. So for me to sit here and say, be a lot more careful, one, with the way you say things on the internet, especially. Two, be a lot more careful with your interactions with women as a whole, especially in light of the Me Too movement and all these other things. Be very respectful. This is a small clip. If you watch the video in its entirety, I actually talk about extensively about how you don't want to make a woman feel pressured. You don't want to pick up a rape charge for no reason. If she feels upset or sad, make sure you get her a taxi home. I talk about all these things in the same video. So this is still the worst part of a very long form video taken out of context. However, I just think there's a lot of lessons to be learned from it. And yeah, if I have to be slightly embarrassed and a little bit taken aback by them so I can teach people the lessons, and I'm going to teach people the lessons. And the basic premise is I was explaining how I have a webcam company and how it affects my romantic life. And that was how it was all encompassing and went together. And I think when I made the video, I got like 28 views.
Yeah. And now it's being circulated.
And I'm being told I'm the worst person in the world by people who pretended they've never done anything wrong for the last 10 years. And also there has to be a degree of time. I like to think there's a statute of limitations. Like, how long are you going to hold?
They will for the rest of your career.
I'm sure they will. And it's fine. And that's fine. But I mean, it's just like, okay, 10 years ago, a decade.
Yeah, they're going to keep making you answer for it in every capacity. I've seen that. God forbid you misspeak, you miss a word while you're saying something, they will circulate it over and over again. That's just the world of social media.
For me, what I feel is I don't feel guilty about them, but I do feel embarrassed because I don't feel like the way I spoke about women.
Hang on. Krusty the Clown says, I bet if I was rich, my chances of getting a girlfriend would be much higher. Krusty, a lot of rich boys don't have girlfriends. A lot of rich men don't have girlfriends. And guess what? A lot of poor men do have girlfriends. So does it make some things easier? Well, sure. I mean, listen, let's just be honest. Life is easier when you have money. It is. But that doesn't mean that people with money don't experience challenges. And it doesn't mean that people with money have everything they want and that their life is perfect. More money, more problems is a saying for a reason. Oftentimes, the more money you have, like, do you want someone that only wants to date you for your money? Like, this is something that like, people who come from money, they will have women who only want to date them because they have money. They never actually get to know the real person. Is that the type of relationship that you want? Because I'll tell you what, it might be fun at first, but if you're talking about a long-term relationship with someone, like you're going to get into a marriage or something like that, guess what? At some point, you're actually going to have to get to know each other. And the appeal of the money is not always the thing that's going to keep them around. So just like, don't doubt yourself. You are perfectly capable. You are perfectly capable of meeting a nice girl, regardless of how you look, regardless of how much money you have in your bank account, that is going to like you for who you are. And you have to believe that, because if you don't believe that, then you're constantly going to be putting barriers in your own way. Look at me giving out sage advice. I'm single because no, this is not true. You have to believe in yourself. Listen, like, have there in history. Like, I don't buy for 1 second that you're below average looking, because there is no such thing. different people have different preferences. Now, like, there are a lot of men who would look at me and say, Carlin, you're fat, you have stupid hair, you're below average looking, you would never be able to get a man. I'll tell you what, Krusty, I can get some of the most beautiful men that I've ever seen. And I know that because I've done it. Even being not rail thin, even not having perfect hair, even being a more masculine woman in terms of like my energy and stuff like that, I have gotten some of the most beautiful men that I've ever seen. And they were the ones that came after me. I wasn't the one who came after them. You don't have to look any certain way to attract people. You have to have confidence. You have to believe in yourself. Well, you're saying it doesn't help everyone, but yes, it does. Give it a try. What do you have to lose? If you're really below average looking and you're really poor and you don't have money and stuff like that, then what do you have to lose?
Men, or the way I spoke about romantic relationships, is my current view on romantic relationships. I think I've certainly matured. I was a young, brash, arrogant guy. This is what happens when you have a young kickboxer who's beating everyone up, making a bunch of money from the streets. I was a young, brash, arrogant guy, and I spoke in a way I perhaps shouldn't have spoke. And I'm sure if Jay-Z makes a song today, he won't speak about women and crack and drugs the way he used to speak about women and crack and drugs. It's just the reality of life. And you have to grow, and you have to take the embarrassment which comes from growing. So I will certainly sit here and make sure, I think the whole world understands that that's not my message. That's not what I'm teaching young boys today. The young boys who are following me today have no interest in these videos and don't watch these videos unless they're pushed by haters. And I think that overall, I'm a net positive for the world. I think that men being so disenfranchised is, I want to say something quickly about the British school system. The English school system has attacked me, and now they're trying to put me, they've spent billions of dollars trying to remove me from schools because young boys were running around saying, what color is your Bugatti? And repeating my saying.
Why is he in schools to begin with? There is no goddamn reason to have Andrew Tate anywhere near schools at all. Krusty, your first mistake is doing online dating. Don't do online dating. You're never going to meet a nice girl doing online dating. This is like anyone who has told you to online date has given you horrible advice. What you need to do is go out into the world and participate in activities. Go meet people at like meetups, or go to the gym, or go join a hiking group. Go like, there are any number of activities that you can do in the real world. Go take like a martial arts class or something like that. I don't know. And when you do those activities, ones that you enjoy, things that you like, go play Dungeons and Dragons, go read comic books. I don't know what that, go join a dance class. Go pick out activities that you yourself would do if there was no other reason to do them, and then go do them. And guess what's going to happen? When you go do activities that you like, you're going to meet girls who also like those activities. And you guys are going to get to be able to bond over a shared experience of those activities. Okay? And that's how you're going to meet girls that are going to like you for who you are. And it might take a little bit of time. It might take doing something on more than one occasion. But I promise you, if you go out into the world and do real activities in the real world that you enjoy, eventually you're going to meet a girl that also enjoys those activities. And then you're already going to have something in common. And it's going to be much more functional than any relationship you're going to do online dating. Online dating is the great relationship killer of our generation. You are only going to meet crazy people in online dating. You need to go meet people in the real world.
I don't think I can really truly be held responsible for the fact that young boys repeat a saying, especially one that's not particularly aggressive. I think that shows that the young boys are looking for a hero and someone to look up to. And I feel like I'm filling a gap. And that's why I understand it's so important I say very good things and teach very good things. And I don't think I would have learned so much good if I hadn't been involved to a degree with the dark and the bad. I don't think there is light without dark. a lot of my lessons and a lot of the messages I give to the world come from the fact that I grew up in one of the worst areas of the Western world, surrounded by drug dealers, surrounded by real pimps doing real bad things, surrounded by broken homes. I learned all these lessons. And if I had never had those experiences and never grew up in that scenario, how could I be a person who's now teaching young men, disenfranchised young men, the realities of the world? How could I? We talked earlier about having a sheltered life. A sheltered life doesn't allow you to be the kind of man who can teach. So yeah, I spoke in a way I shouldn't have spoke. Yeah, I regret the video completely. Have I ever hurt anybody? No. Has any of the girls who are being mentioned in that video come forward with anything other than defense of me? No.
Can
Nobody
anyone
was
see my
actually
chat
hurt.
in Lydia's
It was
chat?
just very brash, very arrogant, very bad delivery, which I regret.
I can tell you something right now. If love with you as a human being, if I had to watch clips of me 10, 11 years ago, I would be red. Even the black girl go red. I couldn't even look. I wouldn't even want my husband to see it. So I feel your embarrassment.
Well, this and this is
that's
the thing.
why a part of me when they were regurgitating these clips, I was like, this is so unfair. It's so unfair to say I'm upset. And by and large, the stuff that you're saying to young men, even if there are certain things I don't agree with, although I found it interesting that you said that peacocking is natural with men, because I think you're right. Now that you say it, I'm just a woman and I don't understand it.
Yeah.
But by and large, the stuff that you're saying today is not that.
Lydia blocked
So
me!
I think it's really, you got to be.
Lydia blocked me. Thank you, Autumn. See, now Autumn, Nick is fucking we should just be stream sniping Lydia at this point. I don't know how this miracle happened where we are all in Lydia's chat at the same time. This was not intentional. This was I feel like we've now had a bonding moment in the chat. I even appreciate Autumn. Thank you all.
Be really careful if you're convicting somebody on who they were a decade ago.
Completely. And it's reformed drug addicts that will tell you not to do drugs, and it's reformed
alcoholics that will tell you not to drink
alcohol.
Yeah.
And I lived a life. I'm not going to sit here and try and I think part of the reason actually, and it is part of my image, Top G is the name for any of the adults who are watching it. Top G is what they call me, my nickname. But part of it is the fact that I grew up in a bad area. Mm-hmm. I can fight. I have this money. I'm in this big compound in Romania with armed guards. And there's that degree of it. There's that nastiness and there's that rough to the edge, which makes my message so interesting for the young boys to watch. But that's because I came from a very rough life. And yeah, all I can do is apologize for the delivery, but I will not apologize for trying to do the best I could at the time in the scenario I was in.
Growing up.
Completely.
And I think that that's one of the things that sucks about being a public figure is every single moment that people are looking at it under a microscope. And I always say, I want to give people permission. I always say, I took the most liberal route to conservatism that there ever was. Yep. And so I'm just not so quick to judge people.
And also I like to think, and this is one of the things I do say, if the most advanced forensic detectives on the planet with years of effort, if the worst they can drag up is me talking about women in a slightly derogatory way, I'm kind of happy with that. And I'll be honest, because I scroll Twitter and I see all these liberals who attack people all day end up getting ousted for child porn or this or that, real things. And I'm like, thank God I have no skeletons for real, So that's the worst version of me that anybody's ever going to see. And it was a long time ago and I learned my lessons from it. And I do my very best to teach the lessons I learned, just like you said, to help people avoid going through the hardest way to possibly learn a lesson. And that's the reality of it. But that has no bearing on my current case. And I think that's what the confusion in my case is currently. People think that my case has something to do with that, even though they're completely unrelated events.
Right. And that's why I'm trying to clarify and talking to you, because I've realized that there's a lot of conflating going on. And a lot of it is because America, I feel, is just now being sort of introduced to you, whereas in the UK, you've been around for a while. And there was one, and I'm only familiar with your UK brand because of my husband. So I know that you've been big in the UK circuit for a very long time. And there was an old video that surfaced of you spanking a woman with a belt.
Yep. Tell me you love me. Say it like you mean it. Say it like you mean it. You message one other guy ever again, whether we're together or not. You understand me?
This obviously has made it through
Hang on. No, I'm sorry. What he just did was dangerous. Why are we not streaming on Odyssey? Huh, that's weird. That something's going on with Odyssey. Hang on. Anyway, what I was going to say, why I actually paused it, is don't tell me that was fucking role play, because, okay, I am educated about such things. What Andrew Tate just did with that belt was actually fucking dangerous. When you are doing role play of that, I'm about to reveal more information about myself than I necessarily want the internet knowing. But when you are doing role play of a variety that involves a belt, there is a specific area that you are supposed to, like, you know, adhere to, where it is not dangerous to swing a belt. Okay? Andrew Tate did not adhere to the fucking safe space fucking area. He swung the belt at her fucking knees. That's not role play. I'm sorry. That in no fucking universe was Andrew Tate doing a safe, planned role play in that. I'm going to go back and watch that again. I want people to see this.
Old video that surfaced of you spanking a woman with a belt.
Yep. Tell me you love me. Say it like you mean it. Say it like you mean it. You message one other guy ever again.
Watch what he does. Not safe.
This
not
obviously
safe.
has made
not safe. No. Like what he just did is not acceptable. I'm sorry. Does everyone see, like, I mean, I think this is an important point. I'm not trying to teach people how to do this or anything, but like, you don't swing a belt at someone's lower legs and their knees. I guarantee you that was not an agreed upon fucking plan.
it through the UK media for years, and I know what that is based on my understanding of what happened with Big Brother when you were on Big Brother, but Americans are just seeing this video in a long montage of awful Andrew Tate videos. So I want you to explain to them what that was. Sure. And again, this is not.
Why on earth would you cheat on me with Lydia, of all people? I feel betrayed. We're going to have two ladies. We're going to have to rebuild some trust now.
Another example of when the woman has already spoken out and clarified that this was not her being abused, but
absolutely. Yeah. The woman's already come forward instantly after the video. She came forward and made a video and said, look, this is between me and Andrew, and he never hurt me and I love him very much. And this is something that personally happened in the bedroom.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to say something about the video that's been released recently about me and my ex-boyfriend, Andrew Tate. Andrew is my still great friend. What you guys saw on the video, it's just what we used to do. It was just pure game. He's a great guy.
No.
He would never hurt anyone.
Hostage situation.
Unless he's
paid off. Paid off.
I just wanted to let you know that this is a huge misunderstanding because I heard he got kicked out from the house because of it, which I found very unfair. It's because it was just pure game. It's just what we used to do.
And it's actually interesting because when I got arrested, even recently, even though me and her are no longer together, she was also doing videos in my defense. She made a very recent video a few months ago saying, once again, very nice things about me.
He is not a human trafficker. He would never rape anybody, and he would certainly never, ever human traffic anyone either, including his brother. They would never do such thing. I am just so shocked, and I'm so fed up with all of these lies.
And you're right about public life. Having your dirty laundry or your life thrown out there to the world is kind of interesting. And it's interesting how fast people throw stones, because I know how clean my life is compared to most people's lives. And I know that just from conversations I've had at dinner tables. I know from just dinner table conversations. You talked earlier about dinner table conversation people have in couples, etc. I've been sitting around in very private rooms with very rich people.
No one who is engaging in that sort of thing responsibly would do what Andrew Tate did in that video. I just don't know how to say it any more clearly. I really don't.
People, and I've been in very important places and also some very low places, and I've heard people talk, and I'm like, if your life was on display like my life was on display, it would be a real circus. I mean, imagine you could be the son of a president. Imagine if their life was on display, and you could find out some really interesting things. So me personally, yeah, these things are the same old regurgitated things from 10 years ago that have been previously explained.
That was also, I was going to say, can you date that video when that video that
2020, I must have been, how old was I? 2015, maybe 2014,
okay.
a long time ago.
Right.
And I think the best defense for all of these things, personally, I don't think that anybody should take my word for it. I think the best defense for all of these things are the voices of the woman directly involved.
Right.
We say believe all
That
women,
you
right?
paid
That's what we
off.
say, isn't it?
No.
Okay, well, you don't have
No, Andrew, we don't say believe all women because women lie all the time. Women especially lie when you're paying them God knows how much money to lie for you.
to listen to a word I say or believe a word I say. If you think I've done something wrong to a woman and the woman stands up and goes, no, I love him, that's garbage, then that should be the end of the issue, I believe.
Mhm.
Maybe I'm getting libertarian again. But
No, I mean, I very much agree with it. And this kind of gets into, gosh, what is the name of the guy in Hollywood that he just went under Me Too and
Hammer something?
yeah, Army Hammer.
All right. All right. For people who have watched this interview, is there anything that takes place in the last hour of the interview that is noteworthy? Does anyone know? Because I can't watch any more of this right now. It's 8 o'clock. I've been streaming for 3 hours. I have a show at 9:30. And what the question that's in my head is, do I do a part 3 of this to finish the interview? Or like, have we gotten through all of the important points in the interview? And can we move on to something else? Because I just don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say. If conservatives are really going to like prop up Andrew Tate and Candace Owens as the people that represent them, then I will watch the left win every single election for the rest of my life and be perfectly happy with it. Not because I like the left, not because I want to descend into a Marxist utopia, but if this is the best that the right has to offer, they deserve to fucking lose. And it's their own damn fault. I can't do it anymore. We need to move on to other things. All right? It seems as though most people in the chat agree with me. So we've done a fun little adventure with this Andrew Tate bullshit. I actually find watching Nick Fuentes to be more entertaining than watching Andrew Tate because Andrew Tate's a moron. I can't do it anymore. I am getting progressively stupider as this time goes on, and I just can't anymore. I can't. And it was very fun. It was fun to crash Lydia's chat. That was an unexpected little bonus. I'll say that. All right, guys. So we are going to wrap up the stream here then. And just as a reminder, I will be back in 1/2 hour of time. An hour and a half, excuse me, not 1/2 hour. An hour and a half. Because Joshua and I are going live for Nothing Remotely Controversial at 9:30 p.m. tonight. It's our regular Tuesday show. I do hope you guys will come back and join us. It'll be great. It's going to be super fun. We'll ask him how Dave Rubin feels about Candace Owens. We will ask him about why Andrew Tate's lawyer is allowing Andrew Tate to talk to Candace Owens for 3 hours. And we will ask many other things as well. If you want to ask Joshua your questions, you can chat them in. And we'll do that at 9:30 tonight. And guys, just as a reminder, please do make sure you are subscribed to my Substack over at carlin.substack.com and make sure you check out the latest article in the Woke Mind series. They want you to overreact. I'm going to go wash my eyes out with bleach or something now. Maybe have a snack. I'll be back in an hour and a half, guys. Take care. We'll see you soon.